This is Robby and Rexrode with Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome into the Thursday edition of Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode here. And for a fourth straight day, Adam Vingan in for Robby Stanley. I wonder if Robby's sick of the beach yet. Probably not. He keeps tweeting out like pictures of waves and his toes in the waves and whatever else going on. Michelle Knezovic also here.
Totally
with us.
just muted there.
You just muted yourself? Wow,
Yes.
We got a Michelle mute in the first minute of the show. You know, I haven't had a mute this week.
You have not.
You haven't had a mute either, have you?
No, because I'm a professional.
Wow, are you tired yet?
No.
Okay.
You count it down like you're surprised I keep coming back. It's a fourth straight day, Vingan.
I'm impressed.
I was asked to be here, and as a professional, I fulfill my professional obligation.
I had no doubt that you would be here, that you would show up. I'm just wondering how the wear and tear is going. If you're not used to this schedule, the extensive
Joe,
pre-show
I'm not
meetings.
even used to this schedule.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's right. I mean, it can get to
It is different.
You're also young and like to stay up late at night, though.
It is different that, I wake up early at home anyway because of the baby.
Blame Arlo.
Yes. But it's different when you wake up and you can go downstairs and sit on the couch while he's watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse versus coming into a place of business.
Don't have to be on, so
Right.
to speak.
Wait, are you telling me you don't have Robby and Rexrode as the stream on your TV for Arlo in the morning, Adam?
I don't want to frighten Arlo by having the first thing he sees is Joe's mug 5 days a week.
I mean,
Joe has not met Arlo, and Arlo's been alive for almost 2 years.
That's pretty bad. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It is bad.
It is bad.
I'm sorry. Now I
Okay,
feel
so Friday
bad.
edition, Arlo in Mike 3.
Why don't you bring Arlo in?
If you want this show to go completely off the rails, which is already happening when you're on mic 1, then we can bring Arlo in.
Exactly. It's not. I mean, when I'm on mic 1, that's the kind of chaotic show that having a baby on the air would actually suit very well.
He would like all the buttons and things, so
yeah,
you'd probably dump all of us off the air at some point.
Well, if you'd like to join in the conversation on the game, on the phone or text line, driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com, 615-737-1025. Let us know, should Arlo come in tomorrow. We're here in the game studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I'm going to talk a little OC today, but
Orange County? The show?
The OC. I forgot about that show. I never watched that show. Did you?
My sister did. Big fan, my sister was, of the OC.
I think Katie may watch it too. But no, I'm talking about the OC, Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator of the Titans. But first, Matthew Tkachuk. Seems like a guy who's pretty good at hockey, especially in the postseason, huh?
So
how about that, Matthew Tkachuk?
If I'm not mistaken, 2 overtime game winners and a buzzer beater in this past series.
The Conn Smythe is over. What if he? Okay,
I don't think it's over.
No, I'm saying if they win.
No, I still don't think it's over. I think Bobrovsky has a better chance of winning the Conn Smythe.
He's not winning it. Really?
He's won 11 of 12.
I know he's been great, but Tkachuk is doing absurd things to win games.
And so is Bobrovsky.
No, I think you're wrong.
He entered last night's game having stopped 110 of his past 111 shots.
I mean, that's decent.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
But
well, either way, it's
to your
Florida.
Point, Florida
it's
sweeps
Vegas.
Carolina. Vegas will try to finish off the Stars. Sans Jamie Benn suspended 2 games tonight. But as we came in, I was telling you about this mind-boggling stat that the NHL put out last night. So, of course, the Panthers were the lowest-ranked team in the field in the postseason in both conferences. They spent, according to the NHL, 28% of the regular season in a playoff spot, which I think worked out to 54 of 190 days, if I remember correctly. Since the NHL's expansion era, which started in 1967, the Panthers are the first team in history in that era to make the Stanley Cup final after spending less than 30% of the regular season in the playoff spot.
That is a great stat.
The previous high, or previous low, rather, was 32% of the regular season by the 2019 Blues, who famously were the worst team in the league at one point and went on a half-season heater to make the playoffs and ultimately win.
You should have asked that as a trivia question, because they should have come to me. I don't know if they would have, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
They were absolutely at the bottom. That story that's a tough one to match.
And we're going to talk about lessons that the Predators can take from the Panthers and the other teams in the conference finals and see how they can apply it to their situation. We'll talk about that later.
That'll be later. That'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. We also, of course, today have Charles Robinson for his typical is every week Thursday visit from 8 to 8:30. We're gonna have Caroline Fenton coming on at 7.
You lost Jared versus Joe again yesterday.
Yeah, every time
you're on a bit of a skid, aren't you?
I don't know if it's 2 or 3. I mean,
you went on a winning streak recently, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of like. Look, I mean, if you agree to be on a competition that's on the other show,
yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean,
what did?
Does Jared actually win sports arguments? Come on.
I mean,
legitimately, no.
I mean, when Jared has been out in the past and I've been filling in, and it's Jared versus Caroline. I mean, Joe versus Caroline, and I fill in the question chair. It's a little less biased, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. And I'm not saying Caroline's biased for Jared, but there is, I think that his alarmist nature has sort of rubbed off on her. So, the pivot point of this was are you freaked out about Kevin Byard?
And you said.
And typically with things like, I mean, if there's ever a question of, are you worried about this, whatever it is, let me tell you what Jared will tell you. 100% of the time. Yes! I mean, he's always worried. It's always a huge concern. Of course, I'm worried.
Do you think Jared is a doomsday prepper?
I think that
he's got a closet in his house with rations and things of that nature.
You think he's is that like survivalist? Is that like
survivalist? Did
you watch the show The Last of Us?
I did not. Played the video game, though.
Yeah, well, so there's a character in there who is that he was ready for the end of the world.
Right.
I don't think that. I think that sports talk radio is much easier if you're worried. I mean, seriously. I think it's much easier if you're actually worried. So
he said he was worried about Kevin Byard not being there. You said it wasn't as big of a deal as it's being made out to be?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's we both at least acknowledge that we don't know.
Did you get into the Caleb Farley spat that originated on this show earlier this week?
And I guess I'll spend a half hour one day, and this is probably an easy rant at some point.
# Jared's Film Room.
And I'll just because this is one of those things where if you go back to, I can find every single person who covers the Titans in the first 2 weeks of camps writing about it. I mean, you may remember Michelle. Writing about it, getting quotes about it, about how Caleb Farley is with the ones and looks pretty good. I mean, early in camp, it was like, yeah. And of course, Jared's like, he sucks. He was only there because he's a first-round pick. He sucks.
Well, it's funny.
Okay, Jared.
I found a video of Joe and I from training camp. We did like a social media video. This is my first training camp. And nice. I'm like, Joe, so which players are going to need to, which players to look out for in camp? And you're like, Dylan Radins is going to be a huge one. He's going to be a huge factor this year. And then Caleb Farley. And I need to find that audio because you look back at it now, 3 years now, and it's like, oh wow.
But that was last year.
No, this was before.
So this was going into their rookie year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're going into their rookie year. Yeah, of course, right. But even going into last year.
Oh yeah, Caleb Farley. I mean,
both of them were important. I mean, both of them were like, can they both start? They need to both start. They were first and second round picks. But again, so Jared now revising history. Farley sucked all along. He's just sucked. No, that's not true. Now, is he good? Is he no, at this point he's trying to hang on in the league, but it's just his revisionist history thing that it's just there's no need for it, I mean, all it does is create unnecessary arguing, really. But
you need to
that's what Jared likes to do.
You need to just start remembering what he says in the dates, because I feel like he remembers it for you, and then he knows where and when to bring it back up.
Yeah, well, he certainly tries to. But the thing is, he won't with this because he's dead wrong. He has nothing here. He's dead wrong. So I'll do it at some point. And see, we were going to talk about Tim Kelly in this first segment, but we're still going to talk about Tim Kelly. I'll say this going into the next segment. Interesting. First of all, Mike Herndon wrote a piece at paulkarski.com, and I'll find the Herndon tweet about the changes. I mean, that's what we're talking about a lot, right? So we're going to talk some about the changes and what they are. And as this tweet says, the Titans appear to be shifting offensive terminology. Shanahanian, West Coast, for the last 5 years, to the Erhardt-Perkins system. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, that goes back to Ray Perkins. You're going back to the New England Patriots of the 70s, but that offense is still an offense, although it also used to be like a grinding run offense, and now it's the Patriots throw it around offense, I mean, you think about the Patriots in 07, that incredible team that should have won it all. That was quote-unquote this offense, but it was also a bunch of air raid stuff. I mean, all this stuff evolves. But the bottom line is it appears, at least terminology, more of what Houston was doing, right? More of what Bill O'Brien was doing there. So that's interesting. Beyond that, though, what do we think of Tim Kelly so far? What do we think just from listening to him talk, the information we have? What do we think of Tim Kelly? Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now that you've taken on that big job, you shouldn't have to settle for the big box. You've earned a trip to Northern Tool, and we're ready for the details. We know all about the little things that make the biggest difference. Maybe that's why they call us a problem solver's paradise. From pressure washers to power tools, pallet jacks to push carts, Northern Tool and Equipment carries the brands you depend on, like North Star, DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Strongway. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
Looking for a big diamond? Genesis Diamonds introduces our Elite Collection, all new for this year. These are large, rare diamonds in the top 1% of the world. 3-carat, 4-carat, 5-carat, up to 10-carat precious diamonds for the most discriminating buyers who appreciate quality. Genesis owners travel worldwide, tapping a vast network of diamond cutters, carefully hand-selecting each of these remarkable diamonds. We invite you to view this premium collection of GIA-certified diamonds, rounds, cushion cuts, emerald cuts, even fancy colored diamonds in size and quality never before seen here. And to showcase these exquisite stones, only Genesis has the finest handcrafted rings from all the world-class designers. If this is the year you're upgrading her original diamond, or you just want to go big for the first time, no need to travel to New York or Los Angeles or Antwerp. Genesis Diamonds' elite collection of large, precious diamonds is here in Nashville. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound, the sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. That looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean? And I wonder if the Titans are still holding out for that pay cut. Normally, the way it works in the NFL, when the team goes to you and they ask you to take a pay cut and you say no, you get cut or you get traded. With Byard, we heard about the pay cut. His people put it out there that it in fact happened, that he said no, and they said that they were at a crossroads. It doesn't feel like they've resolved the crossroads. You mean to tell me that Kevin Byard on Sunday's got time to go to the golf course, but on Monday and Tuesday he doesn't have time to go to work? We're talking about the same Kevin Byard, right? My gut is a lot of you are just going to take what Vrabel said as gospel. You're going to say, oh, it doesn't matter. And I'm just looking at this saying something is up.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
To get improvement with the personnel on hand.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a complete overhaul. I mean, obviously there's this program has done a lot of really good things offensively throughout the year. So, just like we talked about whenever the last time I talked to you guys it's going to be about make sure that we're accentuating the things that we do well and being able to make minor adjustments to some of the areas where we need to improvement.
And that was Tim Kelly, Titans' new offensive coordinator, talking this week. He had an interesting press conference, and I very much enjoyed, as we've talked about, the little dig at Paul Kaharski had. We need more of that from Tim Kelly. But your impressions right now, from afar, Adam Vingan, of the Titans' new offensive coordinator. I mean, this is a huge part of what this season is going to be. If Tim Kelly is a significant upgrade, if he fixes and figures out some things, if he has that feel of an offensive coordinator that you need, where you kind of get ahead of the defensive coordinator in a particular game, which didn't happen too much under Todd Downing for a lot of reasons, but I think him. If he's that guy again, that could make a big difference for this team. What are your thoughts on him so far?
Well, all I know of Tim Kelly, or at least what I can look at in terms of his body of work, is what he did when he was with Houston, 3 years as an offensive coordinator. And I know this isn't the end-all, be-all when it comes to how successful he was at his job, but I believe they only made the playoffs one time in those 3 years.
They were a bad football team for sure.
Yes. And I was looking at the players he had at his disposal in the year that they went to the playoffs. They won the AFC South in 2019. Of course, he had Deshaun Watson at quarterback, and they still had DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills at wide receiver, Carlos Hyde as the starting running back. In terms of how he presents himself, he seems like a typical football guy. We talked about this a little bit yesterday about his response to Paul's question about looking at the highlight, looking at the game film of the positive plays that his receiver has made. And to your point, during the break, we were watching SportsCenter and they were showing highlights of the Celtics Heat game from the other day, and you were like, I haven't seen this game. The Celtics look pretty good. And I was like, well, that's the Tim Kelly school of coaching there. Let's only look at the best plays. And it's interesting because when he first said that,
like, if this is going to continue to be a narrative, it's going to be so annoying. Keep going. When
he first said that, I was just like, that seems kind of silly.
Really?
But then I was reading a story unrelated to Tim Kelly. I was reading a story on ESPN.com yesterday about we talked about the Florida Panthers. I read a story about the shift in philosophy of coaching, specifically in the NHL, and it was based off of Paul Maurice, of course now the coach of the Panthers, the power of positive coaching, and he was talking about how when he came in, and he was talking about when he came in, how he and his staff work to help his players, and he was talking about how he made a point to accentuate the positive, and he felt that the players responded better to seeing clips of what they were doing right versus clips of what they were doing wrong. And they broke down the clips into 3 categories: positive clips, teaching clips, and negative clips. And he emphasized the positive in the teaching clips because, as I said, he and his staff saw improvement in how their players were taking the coaching by emphasizing the positive, saying, here's what you did right versus here's what you did wrong. So it seems as if, though, that's what Tim Kelly is going to be trying to do, is accentuating the positive. You made these big plays. You had that great catch. You had this great game. Here's what we need more of to get you to do that more consistently versus showing here's what you did wrong. I mean, does that
yeah, maybe. I mean, first of all, the general idea makes sense because your generation is soft. I mean,
yes.
Certainly. Let's just talk about the good things. I look at Michelle. Sorry, every once in a while I have to take a generational shot.
I think Michelle and I are in different generations, though. She's not a millennial, I don't think.
No, I'm.
You're born what year?
97.
Yeah, that's like
I'm like the cusp.
She's the absolute youngest millennial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was X.
X? I'm
Z.
X.
Or what? Z. No, wait.
The X's
Joe,
out here
you're
are getting old, okay?
Right.
Nah, you're a boomer, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're
Feels
saying
like it.
about, this is not, I'm sure there are going to be people who latch on to that one comment all year. And but
I don't think it, look, that comment, in my opinion, because what you just laid out there is very interesting, and I do think there's value. I mean, the older coaches are much more likely to quote unquote coach from the negative, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, look, like one of my favorite people in the history of the world is Judd Heathcote, who of course was Tom Izzo's mentor, and their entire thing is coach from the negative. Here's all the stuff you did wrong. I'm going to scream at you about it. You're going to get better. I mean, it can work, but more and more new age coaches don't look at it that way. I just don't think that what Tim Kelly said the other day to the Kaharski question was reflective of that. I just think it was like, why could they be good? Well, here, they did some good stuff, so they could be good. I mean, so yes, but I think there is a chance that gets invoked a lot, and it's going to be very annoying. The thing with Tim Kelly is, just apart from that, what we know about him, okay? One, like you said, Adam, bad teams. I mean, they weren't good teams. But Davis Mills, for example, his rookie year, which was Kelly's last year as OC, he ended up with 88.8 rating, second best rookie QB rating. He had the best red zone rating among all quarterbacks, 116.8. Also, for any Titans fans, remember what Davis Mills did to them and almost kept them from the
Week
seed.
18.
Yeah, threw for 333 and 3 touchdowns. Danny freaking Amendola had 113 of them. I mean, that's one-day example. Vrabel brought that up, when he was talking about Kelly when he was initially hired. Kelly was bad last year, Mills was bad last year without Kelly. By the way, did anybody see the Davis Mills pick?
Oh, my goodness.
His neck is absolutely incredible. It's the most...
Is there a recent picture?
Albert Breer tweeted it and was like, I just can't help but stare at his neck.
Yeah, like Robby makes the jokes, but it really is like, there's no way he's ever done a squat. And yet he's an NFL player. It's incredible. Here's some more on Tim Kelly, okay? Again, Mills dropped off, 10-point drop in QB rating. Now, is that because of Kelly? I don't know. But the bottom line is he played a lot better with Kelly. Watson, 5 seasons, okay? His career best were with Kelly as his OC in 2020. That was a 112.4 QB rating, 8.9 per attempt, which is ridiculous, 4,823 passing yards. Those last two stats led the league. Though Watson's numbers are way worse when Kelly was not his OC. Is that because of Kelly? I mean, it's hard to believe that there's no correlation, right? So I think there's some – what I don't know enough, and first of all, it's just a totally different personnel group, obviously. You're talking about those Texans teams with Watson, shotgun. The running game was there as a as a counter.
Carlos Hyde was their starting running back in 2019.
And they got David Johnson with the terrible trade. Yeah. Bill O'Brien. It's just it's just hard to even – they were bad. The teams were bad. The defense was terrible. So what does that mean? I mean, with Kelly, obviously, it's going to come down to Sundays and how he does going against the other defensive coordinator. I mean, that's what it is. But there's some evidence here that he has a positive impact, on quarterback play for sure.
I just have to say, I just looked at the tweet from Albert Breer. That's the first time I've seen Davis Mills without his helmet on.
Is that insane?
Without pads. It's insane.
It's
the length of his neck is insane. That's the first time I've seen him sans helmet, sans pads. Because I know Robby loves it. So whenever I've seen a Texans game, I'm like, his neck doesn't seem that long, but then it's kind of obscured a little bit by the pads and the helmet. But to see him with just a workout shirt on, I'm like, oh my God.
I mean,
is he half giraffe?
Like ostrich? It's incredible.
Like if we
really
get one of those, like
it's magnificent.
If we get one of those like dog DNA testing kits, like Wisdom Panel or something like that, and then do you think in his lineage there's like some ostrich, some giraffe? Now I'm talking about bestiality.
Yeah,
let's move on.
This show is going into it's a 6:00 hour. It's fine. I don't know where to go from there. I will tell you that Gunnar on the text line said there's no chance Jared's a survivalist. He doesn't even know how to change batteries and smoke detectors.
He doesn't own a ladder.
That is a very fair point. Chuck says I'm more interested in Kelly's play calling as opposed to game planning. Can he adjust when his original plan isn't working?
And that was a criticism of Todd Downing, right? That his play calling was too predictable.
Yeah, we'll get more into that and Kelly next on Robby Rexrode. But right now, if you're caller 5 right now, you can win a pair of tickets to see The Used and Pierce the Veil at Municipal Auditorium on May 31st. 615-737-1025. Fifth caller will be back. Robby Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robby and Rexrode.
Yeah, you take that. Take me 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezevich here for Superbook Sports. Bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook. Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in the sports betting world. And right now, if you use the promo code THEGAME, you can score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they will match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code THEGAME. You're not going to forget it. It's the name of our station, THEGAME. I'm looking at this Miami Heat Celtics game tonight. The Boston Celtics have been 8-9 point favorites in, I would say, probably 4 out of the almost 5 games so far. Disrespect to the Miami Heat. I don't care that they're going into Boston. Give me Miami plus the 8.5. I also think they close this thing out tonight, so give me them plus 260 on the money line. That's great value there. So simply visit superbook.com for terms and conditions or download the Tennessee app in app stores. Enter the promo code THEGAME and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789.
It's Family Leisure's Memorial Day sale.
So get your family swimming now. DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99. Installed with 6 months, same as cash.
Over 450 different packages to choose from. Guaranteed below internet prices.
Family Leisure has great prices on spas and hot tubs in stock and ready for immediate delivery. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99. Family Leisure has the one you want at guaranteed low prices.
I want to be in some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets from all the best brands on sale at guaranteed low prices. And right now, free delivery.
I want to check out the new grills and grill islands. The Sabre infrared grill starts at only $11.99. Complete bull grill islands start at only $39.99. Installed on your patio with a Sabre grill. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs, and more. On sale now at Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
That's Family Leisure. 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Sounds Baseball is back. Catch the action at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Chicago Cubs affiliate. Throwback Thursday returns as the Sounds wear their classic 1978 throwback uniforms and you enjoy drink specials all night. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, Comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Social Furniture's huge Memorial Day sale is now underway. You'll find your dream furniture on sale now at up to 70% off. Sectionals start at $7.99. Sofas from $4.99. Name brand queen mattresses start at $2.99. Complete bedroom sets from $11.99. Buy now and pay later with special financing for up to 48 months. Enjoy hassle-free same-day delivery and setup. Hurry in. Once these deals are gone, they're gone. Shop Social Furniture because of the way you are treated.
312 Pizza Company is a proud sponsor of Nashville Sounds Baseball on 102.5 The Game.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Hello. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today. Use promo code THEGAME. Joe Rexrode, Adam Ving, and Michelle Canazza back. I thought Michelle had like a dramatic intro song there. I heard 2 notes, and then I was like, oh.
I did too.
Did you think that too?
Yes.
It was like she was about to drop some kind of dramatic tune on us.
Yeah,
Did you just mute yourself again?
Yeah. Sorry, that was I have no idea what just happened, but we're all good now. I hope that was a dramatic entrance.
Well, it's all right. You know what? You're not. We've determined you're not Gen Z. You're you are Gen Z. You're not a millennial. You are the oldest Gen Z. You're not the youngest millennial. So we have got 3
generations here right now.
3 generations, yeah.
And Robby, I guess we do every single day because Robby and Adam are the same generation.
Yeah, millennials. And we used to complain about millennials.
Millennials
look awfully wise now, awfully wise and productive.
A few weeks ago, we had a babysitter for Arlo, and we were talking, and she told me she was born in 2001.
Wow!
And I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, man, that's where things are. Things are.
If you were born after the year 2000, it's just it gives me the willies, not the Willie Donics, just the regular old willies.
Oh Lord! All right, you found something on Tim Kelly.
Yeah, so this courtesy of Titans Wire over at USA Today, this is Davis Mills talking about the differences between Tim Kelly as offensive coordinator and Pep Hamilton, who I believe took over for Tim Kelly as offensive coordinator in Houston.
Right.
This is Davis Mills. Quote, Tim Kelly's offense is completely quarterback-driven pre-snap, and the big focus from Pep when he stepped in this role was he wants to take as much off the quarterback as he can so we can play fast. Obviously, we have a lot of control in making sure we're in the correct protection and the correct mic point, basically confirming or changing anything. But the center does the initial point in making the initial calls. So that takes a lot off my plate, especially in the run game. We can go out there and play fast when the center is pointing it.
Okay. It's interesting, too, hearing that, because obviously Tim Kelly, a lot of the talk before this week was about tempo with the Titans. The Titans have been working on tempo. I mean, when Tim was asked this the other day, I'd say he threw a little bit of cold water on me, basically talking about the urgency. I don't think this is going to become a consistent, a lot of the time hurry-up offense. I could be wrong, but it's interesting to hear that. And then Tim Kelly talked about, obviously, everybody wants to do that, right? Every coach talks about they want to play fast. No coach is we want to go slow and just be really methodical and make our, have our opponents be able to adjust easily.
Well, I was going to say, I think Chig was talking about this the other day about, being fast. Okay, what goes into being fast? Of course, being fast on the field, with the plays. But he was saying that a lot of the terminology has changed and they're using, one-word terms to explain an entire play. And then they talked about, the communication with the quarterback and having that more efficient. And I thought that that was a really interesting point of something that's changed from Todd Downing to Tim Kelly on, okay, was there a problem with the communication? Was it too elaborate for people to understand the plays? But now they're using, Trig was like, yeah, it's hard to learn at first, but once you have the word down, it explains everything that you need to do. So that way, maybe faster, more efficient, and just everybody being on the same page was a difference.
Yeah, and that's so referring back to, I mentioned that Mike Herndon has a column at paulkarowski.com about the offensive terminology, the nomenclature, so to speak, the change. And that's one thing about the Shanahan, like the West Coast, like it's kind of known for really long play titles or, like really long, like 6 words. So, what does it mean if they're changing the terminology, cutting down the terminology a little bit? Again, Earhart-Perkins, which, by the way, I could go down a big rabbit hole on this because the defensive system there, which is a 3-4, which is the Fairbanks Bulla, and it's Hank Bulla, rest in peace, a guy I've known for a long time. And these guys all used to argue about who actually brought the 3-4 to the NFL, including Bum Phillips and the Oilers. There's all this argument in the 70s about who brought the 3-4. But that 3-4 defense is still, that's Belichick, what he brought to the Giants with LT. And it's interesting how both of these systems are still technically alive today with the Patriots and a lot of teams, and they go back to the 70s. Anyway, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But it was kind of interesting, right?
That's why you're an old.
So, again, my generation showing its face there. But, I think – so, what is that that's interesting. I guess if you have quicker play calls and you can – get some things off faster. I can see the benefit there. Another thing that people, this is a fair thing to bring up. It's like Tim Kelly, new direction, all this stuff. Tim Kelly was here last year.
Yes.
Right. That's what, when he was hired, that's one thing I wrote in The Athletic. I was like, the worst thing on his resume is being a part of this offense last year, But
what were his responsibilities
as
passing game
coordinator? That's the thing.
Do we really know? Like, do we know?
Well, he worked with tight ends a lot. In practice, he's working with the tight ends. So, he was part of the staff. He was another voice in the room.
How much influence did he have on the
not much,
day-to-day?
Not much. And the thing is, this is where, and I get it. Like last year, things were going terribly, right? So people put Tim Kelly in, let Tim Kelly call the play, right? All this stuff. I get it. Change up. But you've devoted yourself to this OC. And if you're Vrabel, and this is where, some people just aren't going to agree with me, but that's fine. Todd Downing wasn't good. He wasn't good enough. It turned out to be not a good enough hire by Mike Vrabel. There are not many OCs in the world who are going to take what they had last year, especially with the injuries, and turn it into chicken salad, so to speak. We know what it was. It wasn't chicken salad. You're not going to turn that into chicken salad. Look, here's a quote from Vrabel last year about that idea, okay? Because he was asked, about that. Quote, I have to make decisions, and I don't know if during the season anything really would have mattered. I really don't, end quote. And it's basically Vrabel saying, we were screwed. And it was about the players. It's about the players. It's always about the players. I'll be a total Vrabel coach speaker here. It's about players, not plays. So it wasn't going to do anything that dramatic to put Tim Kelly in place of Todd Downing and say, you call better plays. Okay, well, we can't block. We can't get open. Tannehill's hurt. What play? What play are we calling, right?
Well, maybe you don't run the ball on, 3rd and 7.
Yeah, sure. Todd Downing, there's plenty of criticism of Todd Downing. Some of the goofy trick, plays in the fourth quarter, there's plenty of, I'm not trying to take the responsibility off him. What I'm saying, though, is that you're right. Kelly really didn't have a big hand in things. He was there. Now, was Kelly there with the idea that eventually he'd be here? Maybe. They wanted to talk to him before. Vrabel worked with him in Houston. Obviously, Vrabel knows him, trusts him. And again, there's a lot of evidence from his time in Houston that he knows what he's doing. But the idea that, that last year, one, that he had a big hand in their failures, I don't think that's true. Now, how dramatic can the turnaround be this year? Just tell me how they're going to block. Just tell me that, and tell Tim Kelly how they're going to block. And if you get him away from the microphone, he'd probably tell you that too. Okay, yeah. If we can actually win up front, which is still what football's about, then a lot of these players are going to look better. People really like the intro, by the way.
I have no qualms with that.
The intro is fantastic. Nothing better than silence and then Joe just going, hello.
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 It's actually how Joe met his wife, just by randomly picking up the phone and going, hello.
Katie was immediately terrified.
Not terrified enough to not agree to marry him.
She was terrified. I think she's still terrified sometimes when she thinks about the fact that she's married to me. Hey guys, by the way, the game, 102.5, 106.3, the game, this is going well, has your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews tomorrow night, Bridgestone Arena.
With Joe.
Courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary, providing high-quality legal THC products. Yes, I will be there, so come find me if you're there. Text in the keyword BAND, B-A-N-D, now to the game text line at 615-737-1025 to enter to win. And when we come back, best and worst in sports, Robby and Rexo, 102.5, 106.3, the game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
Start your savings journey now. A strong savings strategy creates financial stability, leading to more opportunity for you and the people who count on you. At F&M Bank, our savings accounts help you save easily, plan for expenses, and prepare for whatever comes your way. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls. Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like me. It's going to be awesome and for a great cause, and you'll have a great chance to win great prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text HUNK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 321321. That's HUNK to 321321.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The best and worst of the sports week, now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it's that time. for the best and worst in sports of the week. You know, we were talking earlier off the air. I'm totally like this with Michelle, too. It's like during the course of a week, something will be really good or really bad, and then you'll be like, that'll be – and then you forget, and you don't write it down.
Nope.
I know.
So I will go last today.
No. Oh, because I was going to let you go before me. Since I'm on mic 1, I should go last because I always take your stuff.
You know what? Adam Vinkin is our guest this week.
Okay, I'm going to go first, and I'm going to do my.
Go first.
Can I do my worst in sports first?
You do whatever you want, man.
Okay,
we don't. You know,
we're
non-linear.
I'm going to do my worst in sports first. This is derived from Game 3 of the Western Conference Final between the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Benn, Stars captain, ejected for cross-checking. Mark Stone unnecessarily. Within the first 2 minutes of the game, basically led to the implosion of the Stars, who are on life support. So Jamie Benn did not speak to reporters after the game, but he was available to reporters yesterday late morning before the ruling came down from the NHL Department of Player Safety that he was ultimately suspended for 2 games. But I want you to listen to how he tried to defend his action to reporters.
Oh, it's a doozy. Let's hear it.
You know, down 1-0, so you want to, try and get your team going. Emotions are high, and it's just an unfortunate play. You know, obviously didn't want to take a 5-minute penalty, but the game happens fast. Emotions are high, and obviously would have liked to not fall on him, and I guess use my stick as a landing point. Usually don't talk to other players in a playoff series on other teams, but I saw he was okay, so that was great.
Okay, I want you to hear that. I guess I regret falling on him and using my stick as a landing point. You had all night to think about that, and that's what you came up with?
Vols fans, this is like Shai Tuttle falling on his helmet, man.
I called it the cell block tango defense, a nod to the musical Chicago. He ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times. Yeah. I just happened to aggressively fall on his neck with my stick.
His head was just a landing point for me. I fell.
You had all night to think of that, and obviously the NHL did not think that was a good enough defense because they suspended him for 2 games. And by the way, if the Stars are swept tonight, he will be suspended for the first game of next season, the first regular season game of next season. So Jamie Benn, worst in sports for that terrible line of defense. I bet the NHL on the other side of the phone was just like, can we put you on mute for a second? And then just started laughing amongst themselves before they came back on. Just
tank accountability, man.
Just awful.
It was pretty bad.
That's awful. Best in sports on this past Sunday, Brittany Griner made her home return after, of course, the terrible ordeal that she endured being a political prisoner in Russia. In her first home game for the Phoenix Mercury, in 31 minutes, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks. It was a great moment. Great to have Brittany Griner back stateside. All the feels. So Brittany Griner, best in sports.
Well done.
Okay.
Michelle, are you ready?
I am ready.
Let you go before me.
I am ready. Worst in sports happened earlier this week. Rest in peace, Jim Brown, one of the best athletes, not even just football players, one of the best athletes ever. I always, when a sports legend like that passes away, you just see so much on Twitter of old highlights and videos or on SportsCenter or ESPN, and I wasn't alive, to watch a lot of him or remember really, but just to see some of the stuff he did, and obviously to go to Syracuse, how much of a legend he is there. And like lacrosse, basketball, just everything. So one of the best athletes ever, lost a legend, but really cool just to see all the stuff that people have done to remember him and all the videos that have come out. So that's my worst in sports, losing a legend like that. Best in sports, these NBA playoffs. I feel like I've done this probably a couple times just because I love basketball so much, but I also get into arguments on whether Jason Tatum is a true superstar, and
the answer is yes.
And you're a Duke fan, so I just
there's no debate on that topic. There's no debate.
Mark wants you to know Duke sucks. By the way, on the text side.
Shout out Mark.
Yeah, shout out to Mark.
But Jimmy Butler in this postseason, I mean, one of the most electric, entertaining players to really play the game. And I love the Nugget story with Nikola Jokic and everything, but I would love to see Jimmy Butler get a ring. I mean, he's probably one of my favorite players ever. A JUCO guy, went to Marquette, just a scrappy guy, so fun to watch.
Traded by the Bulls for nothing. Great move by the Bulls.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan from Chicago.
I do actually have a Bulls Jimmy Butler jersey, which is pretty sick, not gonna lie. But one of the some of the plays he makes, and I could get ratioed hard on this, but Kobe-esque, some of the jumpers, some of the plays he creates.
Yeah, those pull-ups on the baseline are, that's Kobe-ish.
Entertaining. So Jimmy Butler's my best in sports. And please, Jimmy, just close it out tonight. The Celtics have been favored by about 9 points, I think, in every single game. Miami just needs to close it out in Boston and then just move on.
I was looking at the trade that was made between the Bulls and the Timberwolves.
Bad.
Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton for Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and Lauri Markkanen.
I mean,
LaVine, yeah. I mean,
LaVine's fine.
But, yeah, that's a toughie. That's too bad for the Bulls, I tell you what. That should just be my worst. But so my best, I'm going to tell this story quickly, and it's a worst and best, the story. But I wrote it this week for The Athletic. Got wind of this through Vanderbilt pitching coach Scott Brown, and a guy he coached at St. John's. The best, is what the friends of Anthony Varvero did in the wake of his tragic passing. After his major league career, he went into the Port Authority Police. He's from New York. He's from Staten Island. He volunteered to work security on 9/11 this year. 4:25 in the morning, driving from Staten Island to the site of the World Trade Center. Wrong way driver, head-on collision, and they both died instantly. You're talking about a guy, 37 years old, 4 children, between 9 and 3, okay? And so just an absolutely awful story. Scott Brown for Vanderbilt is wearing 12 for the rest of his career to honor him. So, again, I wrote the story this week. But my best is, and it's about a month ago now, his friends, and in particular one friend who was the equipment manager at St. John, he had about a 10-year plan. He was the president of the Snug Harbor Little League, which is basically like the most, I guess, compared to the other Staten Island Little Leagues, has the least resources. A 10-year plan that they made happen in 5 months, $2.2 million in donations. MLB donated $225,000. They have the greatest Little League facility in New York now to honor Anthony Varvero. And so, again, it's a long story. Wrote it this week, but learning about this and reading about it, incredibly inspiring what these people did. And, of course, his kids then threw out the first pitch. I mean, it's a tough story, but the response to it's been pretty inspiring. My worst in sports is John Morant and whatever the heck is going on. You've got a scare with what he said on social media, which he ended with "bye," and people freak out, and the cops do a wellness check on him and told him, apparently, according to Memphis police, told him to stay off social media. Don't know what's going on there, but another part of the worst there is the social media back and forth on this, which is a great reason for him to stay off social media. But John Morant's going through some stuff right now, and I hope he's okay, and I hope he does just stay off social media and get himself right and just, have perspective and all that stuff. I think he needs to clearly deal with some stuff. But that, if you saw what he said, and it's a little bit disturbing and worrisome, and I just hope he's okay. But it's a continuation with all the stuff with him. It seems like someone who's troubled right now and needs some help and needs to find that help, and I hope he does.
Well said, Joe.
So let's
get back to Mark for a second.
There's worst.
Where do you get the nerve, Mark, to text that mean things to me?
I mean, hey, look, you know how
Jason Tatum is clearly a superstar. It's not even up for debate.
Jason Tatum's a star. The word super is an interesting You could have different definitions of that, but he's certainly a star. He's a great player.
I don't know. How many points did he have in Game 7 of the previous round?
I would be interested to see what he would look like on a team that's not as well constructed as the Boston Celtics.
That's always a go-to. That's always a go-to sports debate, right? We talked about this with William Nylander the other day when we were talking about trade scenarios involving Predators goalies. You asked me if William Nylander could still be as good with the Predators as he is with the Maple Leafs. I feel like talent mostly travels. No?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does. But I mean, you can get into this too with like some quarterbacks who were surrounded with great, all great receivers and a great OC. Or quarterbacks who still did great things without that. I mean, I think it does matter. Look, Michael Jordan. Let me just bring up Michael Jordan. Well, hey, Michael Jordan in his prime, and I'm talking in his prime, for years, didn't do anything, right? Why?
No,
he was
Scottie
great.
Pippen.
Yeah, I mean, Scottie Pippen's a top 30 player of all time. Rings come. Why? Because it's a team game. This is still a team game. So
to channel Robby, I just want to tell Mark, pound sand.
Also, Kentucky basketball greater than sign Duke basketball. Now the segment is over.
I guess we do have to. Do we have to end it on that? Josh says best in sports. Burke's flying back story, the one that PK wrote about, which is a great story.
Great story.
Worse is Ja. I mean, Ja's concerning. You got some. I'm not at all surprised. You got some stupid texts about Brittany Griner on here. Not reading them. And worst. Oh, best Lakers getting swept. Okay. And worse, Jared calling Levis weird. I was not there for that. Jared called Levis weird?
Aren't we all a little weird?
Oh man. Every day on the text line there's something that's like, well, I didn't hear that. Do we have the audio of that? But when we come back, we're going to have Jared's former partner in crime who has escaped him to do great things on Caroline Willie and D-Mays, Caroline Fenton, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
They played tough. They came back and they still lost.
And your source for Nashville sports.
Yes, you want to have a fire sale, but who's going to buy those players?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Baseball fans, your home for the best baseball action is 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan with the ESPN Game of the Week and the Nashville Sounds. It's all brought to you by Superbook Sports, the #1 sports book in Vegas. Download the Superbook app today.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East Entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, buy a 5-quart jug and get a free STP Extended Life Oil Filter. That's right, free. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need, when you need them, at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Now, your Game Center update.
I'm Michelle Knezovic for your Game Center update. The Florida Panthers sweep the Carolina Hurricanes, and last night, Matthew Tkachuk sends the Panthers to the Stanley Cup final with an unbelievable goal in the final seconds of the game, winning 4-3. A year after winning the President's Trophy, the Florida Panthers are bound for the Stanley Cup final. New rules in the NFL says that each club can designate one emergency quarterback who is eligible to play in the game if the team's first two quarterbacks are unable to participate. This could be good news for Tennessee Titans' third-round pick last year, Malik Willis. Here is Malik at OTAs.
What is your mindset approaching, this season, knowing, Levis got drafted, it's a big off-season training camp for you. How are you approaching this?
I mean, what does knowing that change, You go to work the same way. It don't matter.
Miami will head to Boston to see if they can close out the series tonight. They lead 3-1. Tip-off is set for 7:30 p.m. This report is presented by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome in to the second hour of Robby and Rexrode. I'll try to be quiet. Welcome into the second hour, Robby and Rexrode. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is an NPR.
Oh, hello. Now I'm immediately thinking of Alec Baldwin and you know what I'm talking about.
Sweaty balls.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Adam.
You can say that on the air. It's fine.
Yes. It was chocolate, holiday treats is what it was about. Adam Bingen here in for Robby Stanley, Michelle Knezovic. Very happy to welcome in our next guest, a fantastic host here, Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace. Just a fantastic person all around. Not a very good judger of sports arguments.
I was going to say, a questionable judgment
a
when it
legend
comes
of
to
LSU. Not a very good judger of sports arguments. But other than that, pretty much infallible. Caroline Fenton. Caroline, how are you?
2 out of 3. I will take that, and I appreciate that very kind intro.
Don't forget local celebrity, by the way. Don't forget that.
Hey, I read the scripts I'm given, all right? I do what I'm told.
You didn't improvise that line? That was in there? That was written in the copy?
That was absolutely 100% from the suit, written in the copy. I promise you, if you want to believe I'm a local celebrity, I will. You go right at it. But, Adam, I do appreciate a sweaty balls reference before 7 a.m.
See? And Caroline gets that reference. Michelle.
You two are
haven't seen the movie.
Okay.
Haven't.
It's not a movie.
It's not a movie. It's Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yep. Nope, haven't.
Okay, real quick before we get into this, this is one thing. Now, this is actually much easier, Michelle, because the thing is, you just go on YouTube and I'll just some of these skits, more cowbell, for example, right? Like we all should know more cowbell. I don't think we can even exist as a human race if we can't joke about more cowbell, right?
No, it's in the Constitution.
Now that doesn't even require sitting there and watching a whole movie. So we're gonna work on that one too. All right. Anyway. Caroline, Actually, Adam, go ahead. You have a question for Caroline because we have some new information on the Titans or some new analysis of the Titans, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I'm sure this will be a hot topic of debate on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace coming up at 11 a.m., But
you better believe it.
But Bill Barnwell has a story on ESPN.com where he ranks the best and worst off seasons in the NFL.
He ranks all of the off seasons.
He ranks all of the off seasons. So he's talking about the best and the worst off seasons. Coming in at number 32, the Tennessee Titans, according to Bill Barnwell, had the worst off season, or are currently having the worst off season in the NFL. Do you agree with that?
Your thoughts?
So let me analyze the Titans off season alone, because I could argue that there were some pretty brutal things that happened with your Detroit Lions, Joe. I don't necessarily think that they had the greatest draft in the history of the NFL draft. They have a bunch of their players that were suspended because of betting. Like, I know the Titans more than I know any other team in the NFL, so it's hard for me to say, oh, yeah, it was the worst in the NFL. Like, I could point out some pretty darn bad off seasons, also some pretty good off seasons for some teams across the NFL. Worst in the NFL. I mean, like, that's pretty bold. But I was also looking at The Athletic yesterday, and it was, we're going to analyze the best move for every team's off season. And it was put into rankings of like, okay, you added much needed quarterback stability. And I'm thinking, all right, cool. Like, this is where the Titans are going to be. And then they weren't there. And I'm like, okay, let's keep scrolling. And the Titans belonged in the category of you re-signed your best player. And that was the best Titans offseason move, was re-signing Jeffrey Simmons. And I thought, okay, well, how much better do you really get if you're just re-signing your best players? It's better than the alternative of not re-signing Jeffrey Simmons, but you sign Jeffrey Simmons to an extension. You don't get better. You don't get worse. You stay the same, but you have that stability at that position. So I'm thinking, really? Was that really the best thing that happened? Like, I guess it was. And it's hard to rank off seasons because I'm assuming that we put draft in there, right?
Yes.
And I'm not the kind of person that I don't like ranking drafts or judging drafts. Really, I don't think it's fair until like 3 or 4 years after that draft. Like, I was looking back at the 2021 draft and some of the grades, like the day after the draft grades. That
they're always
Piper
hilarious.
puts out there, NFL.com puts out there. I'm pretty sure the Titans got an A- for that draft. Okay, well, let's break that down. Your first-round draft pick, I think, has been able to contribute how many snaps? 15 total snaps? Okay, well, that's an F. Your second-round draft pick, Dylan Radins, doesn't look so hot, and he also just tore his ACL, so not a great pick. And then Brady Breeze in that draft. I mean, Rashad Weaver might be a consistent starter for this team, but really that's the only bright spot of your draft in 2021. So I don't like to judge an off-season while we are still, in fact, in the off-season. So I take all of that with a grain of salt. If they think the Titans had a horrible draft, fine. That's their prerogative. Let's see in 3 to 5 years if Will Levis becomes a Pro Bowler and Peter Skoronski's the best left tackle in the league. Or Will Levis may be a bust and Peter Skoronski could be a guard. So what I think about that, could the Titans have had the worst offseason in the NFL? Sure. Am I really that worried about it? Honestly, no, I'm not, because I think that this team is in a better shape and better condition today than it was last year.
To clarify, the Lions were number 28 on the list.
Okay.
So they had one of the top 5 worst off seasons.
Yeah.
For context.
Yeah.
And Caroline, the Bill Barnwell's main argument about why it was so bad was there's still uncertainty around Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and then Kevin Byard too. They asked him to take a pay cut. He called their bluff. He's still on the team. He's not in camp. And those moves, not being able to free up that space, compromise the moves that Rand Carthon could have made to further rebuild the roster. On top of that, Barnwell argues that at the league's most critical positions, quarterback, offensive tackle, receiver, edge rusher, and cornerback, the Titans are deficient. That is why he believes they had the worst offseason or are currently having the worst offseason, just for added context.
And look, the receiver argument and the Kevin Byard argument, those are incredibly valid. I mean, look, we've been criticizing the receiver position for, how long? Since before the draft, during the draft, after the draft. And I think the Kevin Byard thing, where it stands right now, we talked about this last night, Joe, on Joe versus Joe. Everything could turn out totally fine. Kevin Byard could be back for the mandatory period. He's totally fine. Everything between the organization is cool. His contract is worked out. He feels like he's in a good place. The organization feels like they're in a good place. It could be totally fine. But right now, it is a question mark. And that's a little bit concerning because, one, who's playing safety? Two, Kevin Byard is, a focal point of this team. I mean, he is a pillar of this organization. So very, very fair assessments of the negative things that have happened this offseason for the Titans.
So the only thing, you just brought up something that, like you just said, the contract would get worked out. I mean, the contract is what it is. It's his contract. You know what I mean? Like, they asked him to take a pay cut. He's not. I mean, they've acknowledged they asked, and he's not. So it just comes down to, I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, I don't know. Maybe this becomes a huge thing. If Kevin Byard wants to maximize, his time in the NFL and, get the most out of it, he's going to play this year, and he's going to be the same Kevin Byard has always been. I mean, like, this is where anger at management, again, has to be. I think we too often conflate that with some kind of locker room issue, and I fail to see where that's going to materialize here. But I could be wrong.
I don't think it's a locker room issue. And to your point, yeah, like Kevin Byard is under contract. If the Titans don't like that contract, then they can do something about it. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a locker room issue. But I think not having Kevin Byard is I'm not going to say a locker room issue, but not having Kevin Byard is definitely an absence in the locker room.
Sure, yeah. I mean, look, if he doesn't show up at minicamp, then I change my mind for sure. But like OTAs, every year there's somebody for some reason. And I'm sure this isn't just like, well, Byard, they're building a new house and he just couldn't make it. I mean, but he did. I mean, Vrabel did talk about how
renovations.
He's fishing.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. What was the?
It was Tannehill.
Celsius. Was
Celsius.
Yeah, Celsius. Yeah.
Shooting some Celsius ads.
Yeah, but I mean, they did. I know. Obviously, Vrabel was very interested in putting cold water on this the other day, but he did just see him at a golf tournament and talk to him and things like that. I mean, we'll see. If I was Kevin Byard in this situation, I'd probably do the exact thing he's doing right now because I would not be happy. And we don't know, right? We don't know how it's going to go. Man, I'll be really surprised if this turns into like a big thing. He's going to and the big thing to me would be the Titans. Like to your point, Caroline. I mean, maybe the Titans decide that they're going to move on or they're trying to move him or whatever. But I mean, who, like you said, who's playing safety? They have Elijah Molden. They got him on Elijah Molden, half corner, half safety, and then didn't draft anything like that. So I think that they're going to pay him, and he's going to play, and it's going to be the same situation with Kevin Byard. But we'll see.
Elijah Molden also half corner, half safety, and also always injured. So if that is your, grand plan at safety, if in fact the Titans do decide to move on from Kevin Byard, which again, I don't think that is going to happen. But like you said, Joe, we just don't know. It could be nothing. It could be the biggest thing ever. We just don't know. But I mean, if that's the frustrating thing sometimes with this team, and it was the same thing last year of who's playing right tackle. Well, we'll have Dylan Radins do it. Well, really? That's your grand plan? If you move on from Kevin Byard, who's playing safety? Elijah Molden. Okay, well, he's always been hurt. So that's, what are you doing there? Who's playing receiver? What's the plan, Willie? What's the plan?
That's a trigger word for Willie Donick. Plan. Don't use the word plan in any context.
Speaking of which,
I try to avoid the P word in our show as much as possible.
What can we expect today on Caroline, Willie, and DMAs?
Well, hey, that's a great question. Let's check and see some of my notes, some Tajay Spears notes. I saw some stuff come out from some TD about how impressed he was with Tajay Spears. I was also looking at ESPN.com, kind of their projections of which rookies will lead certain statistical categories. And Tajay Spears' name popped up in a couple of those. So I thought that was very interesting. I know that the obvious story when the Titans decided to draft Tajay Spears was, well, he doesn't have an ACL and he has arthritis in his knee, so what the heck is going on there? But I think that what at least I have failed to look at is, yes, he's got the arthritis in the knee, and no, he doesn't have an ACL, but also can't tear an ACL if you don't have one. Think smarter, not harder.
Yeah, like that GIF. Yeah, I know the GIF you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that aside, what can he be? You know, how can this team use him? So I think a little bit of Tajay Spears talk. Also, want to get D-Mace's thoughts on Tim Kelly's remarks about the wide receiver position, because Tim Kelly obviously seems super, super juiced about the receivers that he has to work with this year. So a little bit of a sneak peek behind the curtain.
There we go. That'll be at 11. Local celebrity Caroline Fenton, we thank you very much. Have a great day.
At your service. Thank you guys both. Have a good one.
And when we come back on Robby and Rex Show, we're going to react to Carolina and also get into some Preds lessons. Preds lessons per Adam Vingan from these here Stanley Cup playoffs. Robby and Rex Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, the Sounds continue their 6-game series against Iowa at First Horizon Park. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Pierce the Veil and the Used together in one night. Creative Control Tour. This Wednesday night, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. With special guests, John Bracco and Death by Romy. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Pierce the Veil and the Used live.
Now through Memorial Day, get fantastic deals at Electronic Express. Get an LG 75-inch 4K TV for just $699, or a Frigidaire 4-piece kitchen package for $21.99. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture and mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an Acer gaming monitor for just $129, or an HP 14-inch laptop for only $199. Get up to 3 years free financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for our huge Memorial Weekend trade-in and savings event. This Memorial holiday, bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% bonus trade-in towards the purchase of any new clubs, including all the top brands. Save big on apparel. The more you spend, the more you save. All these great deals and more happening this Memorial Day weekend at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Wow, Total Wine really does have everything. I found your favorite bourbon, an awesome vodka, oh, and Ruthie.
Ruthie?
That's me. Always happy to help. Honey, Ruthie found that amazing Cabernet you loved.
Oh, yeah. That Cabernet was really good.
And we have it for the lowest price in town.
We've got to get another bottle. So glad we found Ruthie.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Good morning. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty.
I have the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Robby and Rexrode is presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, where their advanced Pay by TJ option can save you thousands when selling your home. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. Adam Vingan in this week for Robbie Stanley, plugging along, loves waking up early in the morning. And before we get into the Preds and the lessons that you wanted to get into, anything else from we talked about this off the air. Let's again repeat this, okay? Kevin Byard is not in a contract negotiation. Kevin Byard does not have an unresolved contract. Kevin Byard has a contract. He was asked to take a pay cut, which the Titans acknowledged, which I don't believe the Titans would have acknowledged if there was ongoing negotiation about his contract. What this is, right? So, I mean, like anybody who's like, oh, the contract situation, there's no contract situation. He is under contract. He's getting paid. He's going to get paid what his contract says he's going to get paid. Now,
amen.
Is he upset about them asking? I would guess so to some extent. But this is where we'll see how this turns out. But I'd be surprised if it's even like actively upset. I think this is just like, you know what? I'm not going to come to OTAs. And it really doesn't matter. If he's there at minicamp and in camp and does all the Kevin Byard things, we're just not going to care about this at that point. But I understand that right now it's May 25th, so we talk about things.
That's what Sports Talk Radio is all about.
Scream it to the rooftops. He is not under contract negotiations, people. He has a contract. He will be getting paid.
Actually, it would be awesome if like Byard does show up. Like he shows up for minicamp, and then Rand's like, hey, KB, hey, man, how you doing? Hey, so you're sure, right? Not taking a pay cut? I just want to figure I'd ask you like one more time. Can we just try one more time?
So what are we thinking? How are we doing? A little time away.
I mean, remind me, you said no, right? Did you say no? I forget. Did you say maybe? Did you say maybe you take a pay cut? I can't remember.
He should he should report to mandatory minicamp just making it rain with all of the money he refused to give back.
Oh, there you go. The Jalen Ramsey Brinks truck with all the money that he's actually still going to get paid.
The gun that shoots out dollar bills. Like he should just come onto the field like that. That's.
I don't know how to transition from that to the Preds, but just tell me, you were running this show today. Tell me about the Preds. Yeah, basically. Tell me about the Preds and the lessons they need to learn from what we've seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs that they have not been a part of this year.
So over at The Athletic, Sean McIndoe, better known as Down Goes Brown, has a story from the other day talking about lessons to learn and what to avoid based on the 4 teams that were in or are in the NHL Conference Finals. So I thought it was interesting in the context of the Predators, obviously. And let's talk about Florida. Let's use Florida as the example, as they are the first team in to the Stanley Cup Final, sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes last night. So Sean lists out 3 fun lessons and 1 lesson to avoid. So his 3 fun lessons, and we'll talk about them a little bit each. So his first one is make that off-season blockbuster. Of course, the Panthers acquired Matthew Tkachuk last offseason from the Calgary Flames. They sent Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar the other way. Now, Tkachuk was a restricted free agent who kind of forced his way out of Calgary. He let them know he wasn't going to re-sign there. Or he was about to become or maybe this year he would become a restricted free agent. I can't remember. Either way,
he was not going to be there long term.
He was not going to be there long term. So this is what Sean wrote about that. Quote, more importantly, it's instructive to look back at how the Panthers got this deal done. With other teams sensing weakness in the Flames' position and trying to lowball them, Bill Zito, GM of the Panthers, elbowed his way to the front of the line and slammed a big offer down on the counter. He gave up key pieces of his roster, a roster that won the President's Trophy that previous season, and some even thought he had overpaid. In hindsight, he clearly hadn't. The lesson here, be aggressive. If a player you want is available, don't get cute. Swing for the fences and make it happen. Yes, it puts your neck on the line as a GM, but if you're more interested in making your team better than protecting your job, here's your model. And it's funny because we talk about ways that the Predators can get better. And we've talked about they're going to need to probably tear it down and be bad and put yourself in a position to draft a top-of-the-line player who can change the fortunes of your franchise. Now, that's more of a crapshoot than making a deal, which is why we've talked about trading UC Saros. Now, that probably is going to make you bad and put you in that position. The Panthers are an interesting case. As I said, they were a President's Trophy winning team last season.
Yeah, like it was like, why? I mean, obviously the postseason didn't go well for them,
No.
but at the time it was like, you sure you want to break up that crew?
Right.
That's awfully good.
And
Barkov was and I think still is one of the most underrated players in the league.
Yes, but when you look at the Predators roster. Now, this is where it's different, of course. Like I said, the Panthers were working from a position of strength in the sense that they had a player like Jonathan Huberdeau who was more or less expendable. When you had someone like Barkov and you had a deep team like the Panthers have with your Carter Verhaeghes and your Sam Bennett's and your Anthony Duclairs and yada, yada, yada. The Predators don't necessarily have that depth, but they have a player in UC Saros who could fetch the type of player that could help transform this team. So oftentimes when we have these conversations, we hear it on the text line, we read it on the text line, we hear it on the phone. Like, we don't want to trade UC Saros. He's our best player. Well, as Jared likes to say, teams don't want the players that you don't want. Like, teams don't want Matt Duchene. Sorry. Teams don't want Ryan Johansson. They want UC Saros. So if you have to be aggressive, and that's something that I hope Barry Trotz, that aggressive mindset is something that he adapts early in his time as GM.
James on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, if we give up Saros for a Maple Leafs player, better be Mitch Marner. And, of course, we've talked some about who that would be.
Right.
The larger point is, and this is where timing is interesting, because I think the traditional way a lot of people have been, not traditional, but the way, the conventional wisdom on what Barry Trotz is going to do is that next summer is the big summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. I mean,
you could make a case for it not to be.
Right.
For it to be this summer.
Right. To me, I feel like this season for the Predators should be a continuation of what we saw in the second half of last season after the deadline and after all the injuries. There should be an emphasis on youth. Like, I personally do not believe that the Predators should intend to compete this season. And I'm not saying to tank. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying to strip it to the studs. But it's a team that should rely on its youth, learn those lessons, and if they miss the playoffs, that's kind of what that's kind of the plan. Like, the other thing, and we talked about this at the top of the show, the thing that this Panthers run is going to bring up around the NHL is just get in and anything can happen. But people seem to forget, as I said, this Panthers team, yes, they were the lowest ranked team in the field, but they were the President's Trophy winning team last season. And minus Huberdeau and Weegar, who are both very good players who didn't have very good seasons in Calgary, they still had the core of a really good team. And, they had Barkov, they had Verhaeghe, they had Bennett, they had Ekblad. Bobrovsky is playing out of his mind in the postseason. The Predators are not on that level in terms of the depth that they have. So that's the one thing I'm worried about, is that people are just going to say, see, the Panthers did it, so just get in. As Floyd used to say, just get me to the playoffs, baby.
Gover, are you listening? Gover.
Gover.
Well, he's just a big just get in guy.
Yeah.
I want to hear it, Gover.
I think it's a fallacy.
When we come back, more lessons from Adam Vingan on the Preds and the Stanley Cup playoffs. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robby and Rexrode, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. School's almost out. Parents, are you ready for the summer break? Long days, hot weather, restless kids? Oh my. We've got one possible solution for you. Our annual student car giveaway. If you have a high school student who makes good grades, listen up. Our student car giveaway is our way of rewarding those smart students. For every A on their report card, they get one entry to win a brand new Nissan Versa. That's right. Good grades might equal a free car. The student doesn't even have to have their own driver's license. Just good grades on a Tennessee high school report card. It's simple to enter, too. Just go to newtonnissan.com/our-car giveaway and follow the instructions to enter. They must be present to win at the giveaway event at Newton Nissan in Gallatin on June 30th. The deadline to enter is June 12th, so don't delay. Enter your high schooler today. Yes, this is a free car that'll be given away to one lucky Tennessee high school student. Even if they only got one A in gym class, they're eligible.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean? And I wonder if the Titans are still holding out for that pay cut. Normally, the way it works in the NFL, when the team goes to you and they ask you to take a pay cut and you say no, you get cut or you get traded. With Byard, we heard about the pay cut. His people put it out there that it in fact happened, that he said no, and they said that they were at a crossroads. It doesn't feel like they've resolved the crossroads. You mean to tell me that Kevin Byard on Sunday's got time to go to the golf course, but on Monday and Tuesday he doesn't have time to go to work? We're talking about the same Kevin Byard, right? My gut is a lot of you are just going to take what Vrabel said as gospel. You're going to say, oh, it doesn't matter. And I'm just looking at this saying something is up.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Keep listening to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena, Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary. Listen for your cue to text to win DMB tickets from The Game and our friends at Green Trees Company Dispensary.
What shall we do with the broke propeller? What shall we do with the broke propeller? Don't look at me, I wasn't driving. Thank you, you're not helping. I don't even know why you bought this boat. You told me that you loved this boat. That was before you wrecked the boat. Well, now you've made it awkward.
Accidents don't just happen in sea shanties, so Progressive Boat Insurance has you covered. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you can save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms and not available for all boats or in all situations.
Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some Preds.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires. Wow.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Chase and Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together, come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like Caroline Fenton. To support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Welcome back into Robby and Rexrode in the Game studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Adam Vingan, more lessons from you. Come on, what's your next lesson?
I'm afraid to mention
for the Nashville Predators?
I'm afraid to mention this, but I just looked this up, talking about the get in and anything could happen. The Panthers and Predators had an identical record this season.
Oh, they were
42-32. They were both 42-32 and 8.
There's been tons of here's another great example. Just like the Preds of back then. Nate on the text line says, I hate the, quote, just get in and anything can happen notion. The 2017 Preds weren't even as good as this year's Panthers team. The thing about, the thing about the Preds then is I think that they were certainly better than like the 16 seed in the league that year, right? We can agree on that.
In 2017?
In the 2016-2017
they
season.
underachieved, but they did not underachieve during the regular season to the extent that the Panthers underachieved this regular season.
Right. But, I mean, sure. I'm just saying, like, that was that team. They had some injuries. They had some inconsistencies. It was the first year with PK Subban. There were stretches where you knew that team was very good.
Yes.
So now, look, they messed around and they actually fell to that last spot late and all that stuff. So, and then the next year they win the President's Trophy, which, to the point here of an unnamed texter, while you're doing lessons, can you go over the moves the Predators made the year after they won the President's Trophy? Well, it wasn't even all just the year after. It was also the year of the President's Trophy. They made the tourist trade. I mean, that's the big one.
That was a bad one. That was a real bad one.
They also had the first rounder for Ryan Hartman,
Mm-hmm.
who is another one of those guys who's looked pretty good when he's not here.
Yeah, he's carved out a nice little career for himself in Minnesota.
Yeah,
with Freddie Gaudreau.
Now to your point on that's right, which is amazing too, what he's done. Honestly, to your point on the Saros thing, Alex from Montreal says goalies do not hold trade value in the NHL. They may not hold the trade value some think, Alex, but they hold trade value.
Right. But here's sort of what we're getting at a little bit too. So another lesson, a lesson to avoid. This is from the Vegas Golden Knights. This is written by Sean McIndoe at The Athletic. So Vegas Golden Knights, who are up 3-0 in their Western Conference Final Series against the Dallas Stars. This is Sean's lesson to avoid. It doesn't matter who's in net because Vegas has been dealing with a ton of injuries. I believe they had 5 separate goaltenders start a game after the All-Star break. They had been dealing with a ton of injuries. So this is in part what Sean wrote. Quote, in the playoffs, it's been career backups Laurent Brossoit and Adin Hill for the Golden Knights, and they've been more than good enough to beat a Vezina finalist, Connor Hellebuck, and an All-Star, Stuart Skinner, in the first 2 rounds. So does that mean NHL teams should just shrug and roll the dice on whoever's healthy in goal? Not necessarily. It's fair to say that not every team's 4th or 5th string is going to be this good, but it does mean we're probably all overthinking the most important position in hockey. You need a great goaltender to win in the playoffs, but they only need to be great for those 2 months, and good luck figuring out who that will and won't be.
Yeah, okay. So my answer to that is, so have a great goaltender, and then you don't have to guess if you're going to catch lightning in a bottle.
Right.
This postseason is not a good postseason to precede a team's attempt to trade a goaltender for major assets. Okay?
Right.
This particular but it will. I'm confident in this.
Or even last year. I mean, look at the goaltender who won the Stanley Cup last season, Darcy Kemper.
Right.
He was fine.
He was a fine goaltender on a loaded team.
Right.
My beloved Detroit Red Wings of old.
Your Chris Osgoods?
Yeah. Mike Vernon, Chris Osgood. Sure. Now.
They had Dominic Hasek.
Now later, they went and got Dominic Hasek, and that's why they added more cups.
Right.
I mean, he was a big.
They basically had.
They actually argue both sides of this.
How many Hall of Famers were on that 2002?
Because they had Robitaille.
They had Robitaille, Brett Hull.
They had
Chris
Hull
Chelios.
at that point. They were the Yankees. I mean, they were the Yankees of the time.
Was
pre-cap
Yzerman still?
Yeah, they still had Yzerman and Shanahan and all those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they were.
Did they still have Fedorov? Sergei Fedorov?
They had Fedorov.
Yes.
I mean, it was absurd.
And
they were just starting to. They were just starting to bring in Zetterberg and Datsuk, I believe. I mean, it's insane.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, a team like that, you're okay.
Pre-cap. That was a pre-cap world.
Yes, that was again. They were the Yankees. Now we have a cap. But look, there's going to be a Jonathan Quick postseason coming up too. I believe it. Like this is not. We're not heading toward goalie irrelevance, right?
Right.
I mean, let's pump the brakes on that a little bit. Now, still, I mean, Alex, you're right. I mean, people on the text line talking about trading Saros for Draisaitl. I mean, you're going to get laughed at.
We talked the other day about trading Saros for Alex DeBrincat, and you warmed up to it.
I mean, that's the range, right?
Right.
It's that range that I think you have to be realistic about if that's what you're looking for. Because look, the Preds have loaded up with draft capital now.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to parlay that and the space and more space coming into, to me, proven players.
Right.
Proven forwards in particular.
Yes. And teams will, to the point of, to your point about, it always helps to have a great goaltender. Teams still want that. I mean, we've mentioned Edmonton. Stuart Skinner was a rookie goaltender who was not supposed to be the starter, but Jack Campbell, their big free agent signing, was bad. And Stuart Skinner, who parlayed his season, his strong rookie season into, I believe, a Calder Trophy finalist appearance, faltered in the second round against Vegas. You look at teams. Right. You mentioned the teams that are still alive. I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky has won the Vezina Trophy twice, but he hasn't been good in a few years. I mean, he was below average during the regular season and has been playing lights out for the past month and a half, and that's all. Sometimes that's all you need. But at the same time, the Vegas Golden Knights have Adin Hill, a career backup who's won 5 consecutive starts and has been playing like a Bobrovsky-like goaltender, that caliber of goaltender. So it's really a crapshoot when it comes to goalies. But the thing is, when you look at the Predators' roster, we're not talking about their prospects, we're not talking about their draft capital. When you look at their roster, their active NHL roster, they do not have very many players with significant trade value. We talked about Roman Josi. Look, Roman Josi just won the Norris Trophy a couple years ago, but he's in his early 30s. He's got several years left on the contract with a $9 million cap hit. He's dealt with multiple concussions, including this season. It's, how much value. I mean, people would love to have Roman Josi, don't get me wrong, but, it's not trading Matthew Tkachuk, who was, entering his prime, and you're seeing why right now.
Yeah. A lot of thoughts on the text line driven by WilsonHyundai.com. Sean says Hartman was traded because he wanted a $5.5 to $6 million contract signed with Minnesota for $1.7.
Well, if I remember correctly, he was traded to the Flyers for Wayne Simmons at the deadline the following year.
Wayne
Simmons,
get some guys for the hard areas.
Brian Boyle,
Wayne Simmons trading deadline.
Yes.
Oh boy.
And then I think he was traded from Philadelphia, Hartman was, to Dallas, and Dallas didn't want him. I don't think they re-signed him, and then he signed on the cheap with Minnesota and had, the great career he's having right now, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
Like you said, nice little career for himself. Lessons for Nashville. This is another text unnamed. You can't build a team around a safety, Kevin Byard, or a goalie. The beloved are expendable, won't get you where you want to go. Nice stories, though. I don't think the Titans are built around a safety. He's a great player, and they paid him. But I think you can.
The Predators have been building themselves around a goalie for 25 years.
Yeah, and it's not like they haven't had any success. It's
right.
Just that the name of the game is right now it is having whatever you want to call them. Big boy forwards, top shelf forwards.
Yeah. Big boy forward is trademarked from 2 to 6.
Oh, is that his term?
Yes.
Now I feel bad about myself. Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Call TJ's team to see why they are referred so often. And when we come back on Robby and Rexrode, it's time for the Rex Rant.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Baseball fans, your home for the best baseball action is 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan with the ESPN Game of the Week and the Nashville Sounds. It's all brought to you by Superbook Sports, the #1 sports book in Vegas. Download the Superbook app today.
Get a great deal on one of the most versatile tractors in the industry, the Kubota L, which is part of Kubota's tractor lineup rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Stop by Krebs Kubota today to bring home select L Series equipment for $0 down. 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800. Now through June 30th, see Krebs Kubota or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer. Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Online at KrebsKubota.com.
Whether you're popping the question or ready to say I do, there's only one true jeweler to shop for your one true love. Hi, it's Alex Johnson from the Diamond Cellar. As a true jeweler, we not only have luxury designer collections to meet your bridal needs, but we also have talented in-house designers who can create something truly one of a kind. For more than 75 years, our expert staff has been caring for couples just like you and providing the absolute lowest prices guaranteed. Visit us at the Diamond Cellar in Green Hills. The possibilities are endless.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for our huge Memorial Weekend trade-in and savings event. This Memorial holiday, bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% bonus trade-in towards the purchase of any new clubs, including all the top brands. Save big on apparel. The more you spend, the more you save. All these great deals and more happening this Memorial Day weekend at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at EdwinWattsGolfShops.com.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls. Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like me. It's going to be awesome and for a great cause, and you'll have a great chance to win great prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with buy one, get one free admission. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of 1 while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Beach Bend Park, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. Your ticket to summer fun and just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment, let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Glorious. Till I'm victorious. It's so stupid. It's a terrible song.
See, I'm okay. I like that one. That was fast. You know, just get it over with. It's fine. It's a lot more tolerable than the Snoop Dogg remake or the.
I love a Rex rap.
Or even the Lions. The Lions singing. I mean, I think I perfectly summed up Glorious Domination there. How about what do you say there, Vingan?
Yeah, it ran its course.
What, my imitation or the actual song?
The actual song.
Yeah. Well, the chorus was run years ago.
I like it.
But I'm going to switch to basketball for this because I got a great stat. Now I always throw the stat out, of course, about Michael Jordan against Isaiah Thomas in the playoffs. He's 1-3. But I came across another fantastic stat the other day. Do you know Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas, their teams played each other 48 times? Do you know how many of those 48 games Michael Jordan won?
No.
Take a guess.
How many games total?
48 games.
How many did Michael Jordan win? 21.
Michelle, would you care to take a guess?
I'm going to say above 35. More than 35.
Michael Jordan won 16 of the 48 games he played against Isaiah Thomas.
In my defense, I was saying over 35 Isaiah Thomas games.
Oh, I got you. Okay. No, so Isaiah Thomas won 32 of the 48.
I was close.
This relates. This is not just me being a kid, that Isaiah Thomas is my favorite athlete, and hating Michael Jordan as a kid. This relates to the current NBA. where I see a team like the Phoenix Suns, and they don't get it done. Chris Paul gets hurt, but look, they've got Devin Booker, who Devin Booker is a
superstar
for sure. Now, if Jason Tatum's a superstar, Devin Booker is a superstar too.
Thank you.
I don't know either quite is. I think they're both stars. They're both great players. They have Kevin Durant, who at times I still think he might be the best player in the league. They did not get it done, so they fire Monty Williams. And look, in pro sports, coaches get sacrificed. I mean, in the NHL, we know a lot of times it's just like, nothing else we can do. Contracts are guaranteed. Fire the coach.
And we're about to have a Stanley Cup final with 2 teams with coaches in their first years with the team.
But I want to ask you, do you think that firing Monty Williams, and this is now me, taking a shot at my buddy Matt Ishbia.
I was about to say.
Former Michigan State walk-on Matt Ishbia.
I was just about to say that.
Do you think it was a good move? I think Monty Williams is a good coach. You know what? You know what's different about the Phoenix Suns? And this relates to the Isaiah Jordan thing. The Phoenix Suns traded away all their good role players.
Yes.
And they don't have depth, and it's a team sport. Why did the Los Angeles Lakers make a run when this year they were such trash?
2 words, Austin Reeves.
Well, he's a big one.
They traded Russell Westbrook and got good role players who could amplify LeBron and AD.
Yeah. I mean, you look at different times. Now, Jared Vanderbilt up and down. D'Angelo Russell up and down. Austin Reeves was excellent pretty much consistently. Hachimura killed Memphis. Role players. Isaiah Thomas is not a better player than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is one of the 2 best players of all time. Why did Isaiah Thomas dominate Michael Jordan? Because they had a better team. Michael Jordan was in his prime, the prime of his career, when he scored 63 points in a playoff game against Boston. It was a joke of a playoff series. That was, and I don't even know if they won that game, actually. They might have taken 1 from them. He was a Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, leading scorer, all these things in the NBA in his mid to late 20s, the absolute prime of possibly the greatest basketball career in history, and he didn't do jack in the playoffs. Why? Because it's a team sport. It is the most superstar-driven sport for sure, and everybody's talking now about LeBron. They're going to bring in Kyrie, which is a very interesting idea, and I don't know if it could work. It'd be fascinating to watch. But it is so – Isaiah Thomas beat Michael Jordan's brains in because he had James Buddha Edwards in the post, and he had John Sally and Dennis Rodman coming off the bench, and he had Vinnie Johnson coming off the bench hitting jumpers, and he had Bill Laimbeer leading the league in rebounding, hitting, and pissing people off, and he had Rick Mahorn. He had great role players, a great team. When Michael Jordan got Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant got better and B.J. Armstrong came in and John Paxson and Steve Kerr in the corner hitting threes, he won championships. Because it's a team sport. It's so hard for people to look at basketball, in particular the NBA, and consider it, but it's in your face all the time. And it's very frustrating when people don't get it, including, I think, owners who can't look at the roster situation with the Suns and say, we used to have a team with a lot of depth and a lot of really good guys off the bench, and now we have 2 great players, and we have no bench. We have no production off the bench. We have no depth. We're tired at the end of games. Let's look at the Denver Nuggets. They're going to win it all. Do they have a great player? They have a great player in Jokic, and I think Murray is pretty close too. But you look at like what a Bruce Brown does for them. You
Michael
look
Porter.
Well, absolutely. You look at, like an Aaron Gordon has kind of, he was supposed to be a superstar in this league. He's not, but he's a heck of a role player. It's a team sport. I mean,
look at Miami.
Look at the Sacramento Kings.
How many undrafted players does Miami have that are making an impact for them?
And of course, Jimmy Butler's the story. He's the star without question. And that win in Boston, he just took over the game. But
like Max
all
Strus,
those guys,
Duncan Robinson,
the guy who's really been amazing is the other undrafted guy. My gosh. And this is exactly the point. Like,
he's from Chicago.
His name is eluding me, and he's fantastic. Now, I'm really embarrassed as I'm making a rant about
I looked that up. I just wanted to ask you one thing as it relates to the Suns. We're going back a little bit. What would Tom Izzo think of that flop from Matt Ishbia when Nikola Jokic was fighting for the ball?
He would approve.
Oh, man. Well, he is Izzo's the biggest hater of, like, flops or, anyone trying on his team even flopping, which sometimes it's like, You gotta let people flop sometimes. Draymond flopped a lot because Draymond.
There are some videos of LeBron in this last series against the Nuggets, and he's just not even touched, and he's like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I mean that's a completely separate rant of the soccer. It's Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
Caleb Martin's been ridiculous. They don't have Tyler Hero, and they're doing what they're doing because it's a team sport.
I mean, look at Kyle Lowry. I mean, Kyle Lowry was the starting point guard of a championship-winning team, right, in Toronto?
Yes.
And
I mean, even like a guy like Cody Zeller comes off the bench, looking like Kurt Rambis, but throwing himself around and making a play. It's still, of course, it's more driven by stars, and one player can make more of a difference, obviously, than in other sports because it's 5 people on the playing at one time. So I get it. It's the most star-driven compared to the other sports. But it's still so overlooked. 2 things. The team aspect of it, yes. Also, the fact that defense matters. Glenn from Greenbrier says, the early years of Bulls, Pistons rivalry, the Pistons were in the heart of their run. Bulls were an emerging team. That was still building. Sure. Plus, Bill Laimbeer just punched everyone who drove to the basket. Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, buddy, I'll show you some Bill Cartwright and Dave Corzine highlights. I mean, how about Charles Oakley before the Bulls moved him? Yeah, the Bulls protected the rim with some force a little bit too. Gabe Vincent, yes, that's another one, but I was thinking of Martin. But Gabe Vincent's another role player who's been huge for the Heat. So
that's what I was thinking of.
I would just like to thank you all for allowing us to talk more basketball. Robbie, enjoy the beach, man. We're talking hoops.
We're talking hoops.
We're talking some hoops on here.
I completely agree, though. First off, you should have stayed friends with Matt Ishbia or became friends with him. Missed opportunity.
I wrote the first big feature in a newspaper on Matt Ishbia. That's all I'm saying.
That was an elite as someone who roots for Duke. That was an elite level flop by Matt Ishbia.
That was a very good flop. A friend of mine just got a job with his company, by the way. So you got that going for me. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Video streaming brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. This week's Nashville best deal is Beach Bend Park at Splash Lagoon Water Park. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals for a buy one, get one free admission for just $44.99. Beach Bend Park is your ticket to summer fun. Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon Water Park, just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. And when we come back on Robby and Rexrode, it is time for our weekly visit with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute, disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3. The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Want to enter the construction field as a career? Make good money and finish with no debt and earn while you learn. Average starting salary over $18 an hour. First year of college averages $10,000. 4 years of our Construction Trades Academy, a total of $800 to $9,600. Applications are open with first-year scholarships available. CTANash.com. ABC Greater Tennessee Construction Trades Academy. Apply today. CTANash.com.
2 guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same 2 guys drove home. One guy wore a seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Now, your Game Center update.
I'm Michelle Knezovic for your Game Center update. The Florida Panthers sweep the Carolina Hurricanes, and last night, Matthew Tkachuk sends the Panthers to the Stanley Cup final with an unbelievable goal in the final seconds of the game, winning 4-3. A year after winning the President's Trophy, the Florida Panthers are bound for the Stanley Cup final. New rules in the NFL says that each club can designate one emergency quarterback who is eligible to play in the game if the team's first two quarterbacks are unable to participate. This could be good news for Tennessee Titans' third-round pick last year, Malik Willis. Here is Malik at OTAs.
What is your mindset approaching, this season, knowing, Levis got drafted? It's a big off-season training camp for you. How are you approaching this period?
I mean, what does knowing that change, You go to work the same way. It don't matter.
Miami will head to Boston to see if they can close out the series tonight. They lead 3-1. Tip-off is set for 7:30 p.m. This report is presented by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5-106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gutty performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Third and final hour here, Robby and Rexrode, Thursday edition. And at 8 o'clock Thursday, you know what that means. That means we welcome in our good friend Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports NFL reporter extraordinaire, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Charles, how you doing, pal?
What's going on, boys? Struggling a little bit today, but hanging in there.
Oh, yeah? Why are you struggling?
Yeah, just, got the sore throat. I swear I feel like everybody's a little sick right now. It's, I don't know, the cyclical off-season struggle bus, but we'll get through it.
Yeah,
Katie, how you guys doing today?
Katie had pneumonia this week, so...
yeah, I think I don't have that.
Yeah. It's a little extreme. Yeah. Right. Yeah, she's fine now. She's okay. Katie. She toughs it out.
Tougher than Joe.
Well, we know this. This is well documented. So, Charles, so much going on with the NFL now. I want to start with. There's always a lot going on with the NFL, but I do want to start with a couple of, I guess, news items from this week and what you think of them. One, the Thursday flexing thing. With the 28-day. What's the reaction you've been getting around the league? What do you think of it? And also the kickoff rule, which I've seen some anger about that. Like even like Andy Reid kind of surprised me with his comments, and I'm like, guys, I mean, if we care a rip about safety, this is where it was going, right?
Yeah, I mean, the flexing thing, it was going to happen no matter what. I think the league, when it didn't go through the first time, there's just no way they could go through what they went through last season with Amazon. You can't have, I hate to put it this way, but you can't have Al Michaels on the air dogging the product when you're getting terrible games like that and knowing how important the Amazon partnership is. Like I think people underestimate knowing where contract rights are going, knowing how the league, they are literally trying to figure out how they can get the Black Friday game this year, trying to push to open Germany. They want everything. Like I remember, Mike Florio keeps bringing up this line that Mark Cuban said years ago about, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And, Cuban was pissed because the NFL was literally going after anything the NBA had. It didn't matter what day the NBA, during the NBA season where they had, a stage to themselves. And the NFL was like, screw that. We're going to take every stage possible. After the NFL, we're going after everything. That's part of what was going on with Thursday. You can't have a dog schedule like that develop and not have some ability to flex out of it. And look, basically the 4-week advance notice. I mean, that's a long time, but the NFL, it was funny because they kind of acted like, well, how often is this really going to happen? We just want the tool on the table. I'll bet you it does happen. It doesn't take long to figure out. And I think I would point the arrow at Denver last year. It doesn't take long to figure out early in a season when, oh no, we made a significant mistake scheduling a certain franchise into a number of primetime games. Now, how do we get out of this to make our partner happy? And I absolutely think I would probably say by the end of October, the NFL will already be looking at the end of the schedule going, okay, who do we got to move out? By the way, if significant quarterback injuries happen in like September, October, teams, the NFL is going to be like, all right, well, if we lose whoever, say Mahomes goes down, they're going to flex Kansas City out of some primetime game. That's what I'm not pointing specifically at Kansas City. I'm just saying if there's a certain team where clearly the fortunes are going to shift dramatically because a quarterback injury occurs, they're going to be, headed toward that. So that's that. The kickoff thing, I really, the fuss of it, I think the data, I don't know how much it'll really matter in terms of how many kickoffs will be affected by this. Are they trying to legislate the kickoff out of the game? Yeah, maybe, but shouldn't we have already known that before anyway? It's sort of been heading in that direction for a while. This is a one-year look. We're going to see whether or not they completely, move away from it. I don't know what to say about it. Frankly, I was a little bit surprised at sort of the furor when that all happened. And like you said, Reed came out and, a number of people just seemed completely, losing their minds over it. I did think it was funny, though, that there was this idea of like, all these jobs are going to be lost. Are we worried about job creation in the NFL right now? Is that really like that's the underlying thing that people are upset with? No, I think it's, people hate it when they legislate any physicality out of the game due to injuries, and this is just another iteration of it.
Yeah, so a few years ago, Big Ten Media Days, which you used to cover long ago, remember Joe Tiller when he got up there, because he was on the rules committee.
Joe Tiller.
The great Joe Tiller, man. The guy was amazing. But I remember, he started his thing with this long and like he was trembling in anger talking about how the kickoff, because he had been trying to basically get it out, of the game. Right. And he started yelling, pounding about how you look at the number of injuries, like it's a huge, inordinate amount of injuries happen on kickoffs, and basically how like it has to be changed. I mean, like if we want football, we all want football, right? We all want tackle football. Things like that, it's okay to sacrifice. We don't need to start talking about whining about flag football. I was really surprised to hear Andy Reid on that, But anyway, more on the news cycle, Charles. Aaron Rodgers has a little boo-boo, and then it's, 2 days? So what does that mean?
Wasn't that amazing? Like, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, wow, they extended Roger Goodell's contract, or they're moving that direction. That's the news that's coming out. And then, the Washington Commanders sales dragging. It's sort of like, why aren't they going to get it done in this meeting? And there's a lot of actually interesting implications of what's going on with that Washington sale. And then, the kickoff stuff, and there's all this stuff coming out of Minnesota with the league meetings, and then Rodgers is like doesn't have his helmet. It's like all this, it was like every social media platform. It was funny to me because, like, I had heard about it. I didn't hear about it until I saw a tweet. Obviously, I wasn't there when it happened, but I started seeing tweets. So I'm like I'm looking at these pieces of video. And I just happened to be in I was on like a TikTok live. I wasn't on it. I was watching a TikTok live that was like sports related and had nothing to do with anything with Rodgers or whatever. But I'm watching the chat. I'm like watching all these people in the chat. You might as well have canceled the entire event that I was watching because everybody in the chat all of a sudden was like, Aaron Rodgers' ankle's broken. Like, the Jets season's over. Like, it was just completely nuts. I start texting people in the Jets. I'm like, what is going on? And, yeah, I mean, it's just a strained calf. And to me, I'm like, this is hilarious because it's such a great, like, example of what we knew was coming with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Like, everything that happens with the Jets is just, it's 100 miles an hour, and the guy literally not being able to take reps for a day, and literally it's because just a dumb, warm-up exercise, and he strains his calf, and he's like, I'm not giving a screw with this today. And people absolutely become unhinged, and it takes over the entire news cycle, on a day where a lot of actually important stuff's happening. I'm like, God, this is going to be amazing. Like, this wait until something really consequential actually happens. This is going to be an awesome roller coaster to watch this season.
Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports joining us here on Robby and Rexrode. Charles, you mentioned the Commander sale from Daniel Snyder to Josh Harris. It's not there yet, I have read, but the NFL owners are hopeful it will cross the finish line. What are the remaining hurdles that need to be cleared before Daniel Snyder is officially out of our lives as an NFL owner?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's just the funding. It's like how this is all put together, the debt load, and Harris. So not a lot of people sort of understand, but the NFL, the way it's structured, anytime a purchase happens, you have to have a general partner who owns at least 30% of the team. I know most people would think like, wow, don't you have to own a heck of a lot more to be considered, quote unquote, the primary owner of an NFL team? No, you don't. Like when you have a group bid, you only have to have 30% ownership of the pie, and then you're considered, the lead owner as long as the rest of the pie is divided up at a smaller number than that 30%. Well, Harris, the group, it's just so wildly divided up, and it's such like it's a pretty significantly sized group, and part of it is liquidity. It's just there's this issue of like, you're talking about a $6 billion sale, but in reality, it's more like you're looking at a group and you're saying you really need about $10 billion at least, because you have future infrastructure to build in a stadium. There are all these other things down the line where you need to have some padding on the amount of money that's sort of at your fingertips. So it's a number of different things that they're working through right now. But what I think is interesting is what we're seeing is NFL teams are getting to the point where when they sell, and I think if it goes beyond the $6 billion number, if this is real for a lot of teams, it's beginning to be hard for the NFL to stick to the old model, which was having a, let's say like a David Tepper, a primary owner who comes in who has a ton of liquidity, a ton of wealth, and able to basically buy out the vast majority of an ownership stake. NFL teams are getting so expensive that even the NFL owners are like, man, we just have such a smaller pool now to select from because the numbers are so big. And maybe the future of the league is going to be more like large ownership groups with general partners who have that 30% stake. And that's just because of the price of teams. There's just only so many billionaires to go around. You can't go to Jeff Bezos every time a team's for sale and be like, well, you obviously can afford it.
Jeff, can you have 20 of these teams? Would that be cool with you?
Yeah. I just think it's interesting because it's like, I think the NFL's grappling with this a little bit in terms of just how expensive franchises have become. And just think of that, like the pool, the fraternity that they've had to choose from in the past has already been small. But I think now that they're becoming so wildly expensive to purchase, that pool is going to become even smaller and smaller. And no one's talking about it now, but think along the lines of like the NFL actually recently saying, yeah, we kind of like some more diversity amongst our ownership groups. We're not seeing a lot of diversity in that group when we have our, privileged executive committee meetings. Okay, you tell me, where's that going to come from now? Because it's becoming so expensive now that you're really going to be rotating through the same 20 people over and over because you basically have to have $10 billion at your fingertips to buy a team.
Maybe we can get Elon involved. No. All right. I did not say that out loud. All right.
Not after what happened last night.
Yeah, that went well. When we come back with Charles Robinson, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association, I'm going to ask him the question, how bad was the Titans offseason? Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Tools of the Game brought to you by Northern Tool and Equipment. During Northern Tool's Memorial Day sale, it's time to save on fans, shelters, canopies, lawn and garden equipment, and more. Cool off with a Northern Tool exclusive Ironton 20-inch high-velocity floor fan for only $59.99. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds.
It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Tacori and Verragio, and we're excited to be able to give you something nobody else can.
Genesis Vice President David Cooper.
The craftsmanship, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar none better than anything else.
Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from New York and California, with over 4,000 rings to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create something that's truly one of a kind.
We can custom craft you literally anything you can imagine. We have the capabilities to realize any dream you have. Things that other stores may call new, we've been doing for 3, 4, and even 5 years already.
So don't settle for a ring with a stale design or with inferior craftsmanship. Let Genesis help you get the look, the quality, and the value you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs, voted year after year best jewelry store in Nashville.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East entrance. 5 museums in one, including the fantastic Whitney Western Art Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text HUNK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 321321. That's HUNK to 321321.
You could throw your flip-flop at a bug.
Ew, a bug, get it.
But the chances of actually hitting it
Over there!
are statistically
It's still alive.
unlikely. Good thing nature's got your back. Stem bug killers combine powerful active ingredients found in plants, like lemongrass and geraniol, and scientifically engineer them into effective bug-fighting formulas, safe for use as directed around people, pets, and throughout the home. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are good to go. Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Good choice on the intro there. Rest in peace, the great Tina Turner. Welcoming Charles Robinson back in, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Charles, I did want to ask you about, I know that you are absolutely, there's nothing that you love more than like off-season rankings and like grades of drafts.
Listicles.
Yes, listicles are amazing. How many listicles? You love churning out listicles. But we have batted around today. A guy who I think is a very good writer and reporter. I like his stuff. Is Bill Barnwell from ESPN. And, he's obviously analytics driven, but I think he has some interesting stuff. He ranked the Titans offseason number 32 of 32. And we've talked about this some too. I know we've talked to you about it a little bit, but it may as well bring it back up. Everything I see right now, that is, just about everything, maybe not everything, but just about everything I see in terms of people predicting next season has the Titans basically picking in the top 5 in the draft next year. But when you think about off seasons, and I know you don't have a complete ranking of all the teams right now, do you think the Titans had a terrible off season?
We're working on a video right now. Does Bill Barnwell hate the Tennessee Titans?
Hey, put it on TikTok.
I'm glad someone else surfaced to get the anger.
Public enemy #1 in Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I understand like where Bill's coming from when he put his list together. I think it's because, when the Titans offseason turns into a conversation about the viability of Ryan Tannehill, the viability of Derrick Henry, those are two foundational building blocks, and you're like, all right, well, if they're willing to move on from these players, it feels like that's a rebuild, right? I mean, who knows if it's a full-blown multi-year rebuild? Who knows if it's a micro rebuild? That all depends on either who you have waiting in the wings or who you have available to take. And then when neither of those players moves on, of course, it leads you to believe, well, okay, if these were players who are available, how much confidence is there in them, and where does that leave Tennessee? Are they in limbo? So I think a lot of people look at Tennessee and think, okay, it's trending downward because they're trying to shift gears here, and they were not able to do it with two pretty weighty players when it comes to what their deals are. I mean, obviously, we're looking at the last year, I think, for both of these guys here in Tennessee, but I just don't know. I guess with Bill, sort of like, I don't know what he expected the team to do. What surprised me was, like the, I guess the shot sort of taken at like the Andre Dillard, addition. And it's interesting because I don't think Dillard, like, although he did not come to meet the expectations of where he was drafted with the Eagles, go look at their tackles. Pretty good. Jordan Mailata is a decent left tackle. Lane Johnson's a superb, all pro right tackle all the time. He wasn't going to fit into either of those tackle positions. And if that was something that he ultimately wanted to do, he wasn't going to fit there. And I thought his contract signed by the Titans was just a decent risk. It's really a 2-year deal. You're giving him a little bit of new life here. There's a little bit of a change, and I thought it was fine. I guess I just look at the Titans. I'm like, what did people expect to happen here, and how much differently, I guess, would people have felt if, say, they'd moved up to that pick, the 3rd overall pick, and they draft, C.J. Stroud. Now you all of a sudden feeling exponentially better about the Titans because they went and resolved the quarterback with a C.J. Stroud rather than a Will Levis. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe. I would agree with him in the sense that I think the Titans are sort of in a weird spot here because there is definitely some shifting going on, and it's going to be one of those seasons where it's like, all right, what's the priority? The priority to try and make the playoffs and get something, a last grasp at this with a couple of veterans, or are you looking at, let's develop, Levis, let's figure out what life after Derrick Henry is going to look like, what pieces of the defense that remain, what are we retooling there? I get it. I don't know. I guess it's just sort of harsh when you look at a list and you go, the Titans had the absolute worst offseason.
I mean, someone's got to be last, I guess, right?
Yeah, they do, but I think you just got to take it with a grain of salt because I think the reason why they land there and why a lot of people are looking at the Titans as a team that's stepping back is just because of the fact that there's a transition going on right now, and you don't know. To me, I think the most important question right now for the Titans is whether or not Levis is going to work out. Whether or not, if this is a team that top 5 pick next year, it's going to be a good quarterback draft next year. And are you going to be in it for another quarterback the same way you were after taking Malik Willis? You're in it again, and you go get a Will Levis. If you have a top 2 pick next year, you better know whether or not Levis has got the goods, because I think Caleb Williams or Drake May, everyone's going to be looking at the Titans going, well, they're just going to take one of those 2 quarterbacks, and whatever the awkwardness is with Will Levis, they'll have to deal with it because you don't pass on a potential, generational quarterback, which is how a lot of teams are looking at them next year. So I get the criticism. It is what it is. The Titans are just in a spot right now where they're in a little bit of a turnover. We've seen it with some of the veterans who were, pushed out this offseason. There's a change at general manager. It feels like a little messy right now, but I mean, that's sometimes what it takes to get things turned in the right direction.
Yeah, and the thing is, but they are in limbo. So I do get it. It's like, what are you doing? What are you? It's a limbo season. The thing is, they're going to be too good. They're going to be too good with Tannehill. I mean, they're going to win 7 games with that schedule. Half asleep. But but we'll see. Okay, I want to kind of sticking with the Titans, but it's more of a philosophical question, Charles. Talking to Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Okay, so. Right now, the freak out here and all around the league, as you know, OTA, someone misses an OTA, and so it's like, what is going on here? It's Kevin Byard was asked for a pay cut, declined, not here at OTAs. He's always been one of those veterans who's typically at OTAs. He leads the way and all that stuff. But the question I have for you is a little bit bigger than that. It's philosophical because I have batted around a little bit. I always look at things with contract situation, like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was mad at John Robinson, mad at management. It had nothing to do with, the locker. When they trade him, it's like, oh, good, he was a problem. Well, he's not a problem in the locker room. All the players in the locker room are rooting for him to get paid. Right. But when a coach, as Vrabel kind of has transitioned to that in the last few months with firing John Robinson, when a coach clearly gains more power and has more say in a front office – do players start looking at a coach differently? Like he's more like a suit, and can that be problematic? You know what I mean? In keeping those two things divided, player relationship with management, player relationship with, locker room / team / coaches. If that question made any sense to you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it really does. That is something that because there's a mentality in most teams. I always call it the upstairs downstairs mentality, and upstairs is the front office, right? And downstairs is the locker room, it's the players, and often it's the coaches. And I think mentally, a lot of players, especially your star players, they do kind of have that line in their head where it's like, all right, well, the coaches are with us, and they're in the meetings with us, so they're grinding it every day with us, and the front office and the general manager, that's someone else, and there is a little bit of sanctity that I think sometimes develops in rosters in terms of trust and whatnot. But I do think, as you said, and I'll give you a great example of this. Kansas City, I think when John Dorsey went out the door, the players knew right then. They were like, okay, well, Andy's definitely consolidated some power here in the organization. And without naming names here, there were certain individuals that players had contact with on an everyday basis who automatically they were kind of like, all right, well, now do we have to worry about sort of Andy as a GM here? And if we're around some of these individuals and we're having conversations about coaches we don't like or other things that maybe we're displeased with, are these individuals now running directly to Andy to sort of rat us out about, are there people basically spying on us for the coach now? I don't think that existed before John Dorsey went out the door. I do feel like in the Chiefs organization, there was more of a, hey, Andy is one of us kind of, and I think it's in a sense still that way, but it definitely does when a general manager goes, and a coach picks up duties where players know the coach is now starting to make personnel phone calls. The coach has some of that personnel power, and there's more of a direct line of if a coach doesn't like how a player's performing, he's not wearing out the carpet to the GM's office. He doesn't have to do that anymore. He can just sort of make that decision on his own, or at least have the power to potentially do it. It certainly changes it, and it happened here in Houston, I think, with Bill O'Brien. When Rick Smith went out the door, players were like, oh, man, Bill's kind of the GM now of this team. He won that battle, and now I have to worry about – I know the quarterbacks in particular, there were quarterbacks who were like, Bill doesn't like me very much, and now I don't have Rick Smith really – I was kind of a Rick Smith guy, and now it's sort of Bill's operation. I might have some trouble here moving on. So, yeah, it's an astute observation, and I would think, that definitely exists with the Titans right now. People would be kidding themselves if they don't think that Mike Vrabel is going to have a much more there's going to be a lot more open latitude there for Mike to make the decisions he needs to with the roster without having to, go to a John Robinson and say, hey, this is shared power. Mike's at the way I perceive it, Mike is still very much he's gained a heck of a lot more power than he had prior.
Next Charles podcast with Jory, we have the overlay. Is Vrabel a narc? Let's just
I swear to God, it's the craziest thing that happens is that, like, you know, players get paranoid about, like, does this change now? You know, there's a lot of complaining, honestly, that goes on with NFL players around either position coaches, trainers, locker room attendants, all these different things. And if suddenly they feel like they're worried about whether or not the head coach is going to find out, you know, or it just creates a situation where now it's sort of like the players feel like, okay, now we also have this dividing line between us and the head coach, because the head coach is now basically the head coach / GM. It can screw with locker rooms. It's weird. You don't hear about it a lot, but you definitely hear it from players themselves. And often their agents will tell you, like, hey, I tell my guy, don't talk around this individual anymore in the franchise, because he'll go straight to the head coach and he'll tell the head coach what you're saying. And now the head coach is basically the GM, and you really need to think about that. Those conversations actually happen.
Very interesting. Charles Robinson, awesome as always. Brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Feel better, my friend. Talk to you next week.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Take care, guys.
Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports. Best reporter covering the NFL, in my humble opinion. When we come back, we're going to react to a little bit of what he said and get a little more into the Titans offseason. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robby and Rexrode.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in the sports betting world right now, and if you use the promo code THEGAME, you can score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code THEGAME. You're not going to forget it. It's the name of our station, THEGAME, The Game. Use that promo code. I'm looking at the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics tonight. The Heat have been disrespected with some of these lines. The Celtics are an 8-point favorite. The line moving a little bit down. I'm taking Miami plus the 8. Also going to take them plus 240 on the money line. I think they close things out tonight in Boston. So simply visit thesuperbook.com for terms and conditions, or you can download the Superbook Tennessee app in the app stores. Enter the promo code THEGAME, and you will get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
The spring menu is here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, featuring their signature cast iron pie with herb roasted chicken, English peas, carrots, potato, simple greens, and a toasted biscuit crumble topping. Or garden succotash with snap peas, black-eyed peas, roasted peppers, sweet corn, tomato, and caramelized onion. Or try the steak fritas with pan-seared ribeye. Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily till 2 with brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 till 2.
It's Wrangler season out there. T-shirt days, denim jacket nights. A pair of broken-in jeans you could live in. Open roads, endless horizons, no destinations. This is when adventure starts calling. And you need to be ready in jeans that are made for the unpredictable journey that we call life. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
They talk sports.
The Predators get the 2 points, which is obviously what they needed.
They're not making big moves that are jaw-dropping signings in free agency.
They talk life.
Well, I almost just fell down the stairs, so there's that.
My backpack was so heavy, the seatbelt alarm was going off the entire trip.
But most of all, they have a good time.
You're there.
Yeah.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, Nashville? This is Stephen A. Smith. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Yeah, Poison. Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Iowa Cubs, AAA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, helping home buyers and sellers in Middle Tennessee for 20 years. Welcome back in here. We are reacting to Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Adam, I think that's a really, really interesting discussion that we had at the end there with Charles. And I don't know if it matters a ton, like in the Byard situation or in any situation, but it is worth mentioning in considering that Vrabel is going to be looked at a little bit differently by the locker room, or that he could potentially be looked at differently by the locker room because he's now not just the coach. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Vrabel had say when John Robinson was GM. I think Vrabel's the kind of personality. I don't think he's going to be like a mind-your-own-business wallflower in any situation in his life. And he was a very good coach here pretty quickly. And I think that he had plenty of say. Any coach should. I mean, any coach in this league should have a lot of sway with the GM. And if not, then you got real problems. But there's a difference between that and John Robinson still ultimately making decisions like trading A.J. Brown that Mike Vrabel clearly did not want to happen. And then Vrabel potentially, though it'll never be officially confirmed by the Titans, having final say over the new GM, Rand Carthon. They talk about collaboration. That's what it needs to be. But if you're a player in that locker room, Vrabel's position has changed, and now you think of him maybe as a little, not just your coach, but also a guy who's, well, for lack of a better term, a suit.
I think, not to pump your tires even more, but, Charles mentioned it, Paul Kaharski mentioned it yesterday. It is an astute observation by you, Joe Rexrode, to point that out.
Astute. Great word. Thank you.
It does feel like, I do think of, you called Mike Vrabel a narc. I can imagine like a player having like a heart-to-heart conversation with Vrabel and be like, I value your opinion. Thank you for coming to see me. The player leaves and he like discreetly, hey Rand, guess what Kevin Byard just told me? Hello, fellow young kids. It is an interesting line.
Gen Zers?
Yes, it is an interesting line to walk if you're Mike Vrabel, because if a player comes to him, needing his advice as a coach, they're absolutely Mike Vrabel, even if it's unintentional. Those conversations are going to end up in the ear of Rand Carthon. He may not, to use another big word, weaponize those comments in terms of trying to get the best deal possible for a player, if it comes down to that, for example. But in conversations with Rand Carthon, the conversations that Mike Vrabel has with players are going to come up in a way that perhaps they would not have had in the past. So
and I don't know that, though. Now it may be that it went to J-Rob just the same way, right? I don't know.
True.
But as a player, you may think that. You're right? I mean, okay, I'd love to know this with Kevin Byard. Was this as simple as Rand Carthon? Because I get it. Like, if you're Rand Carthon, you come in, you look at the roster, you look at the sheet, you look at the salaries, and the eyes get big when you look at what a safety is making on this team, right? So is this as simple as Rand Carthon came in, saw that, thought it was worth a shot? I mean, I'm sure there was conversation, but was it all Rand Carthon driven? And if you're Kevin Byard, how do you view that? You know, Kevin Byard, well documented, and he talked about this the day that John Robinson was fired. I mean, he wasn't just his GM. Like, their families are close. Their wives are close. So it wasn't just the guy who took a chance on him, selected him, gave him a huge contract, but also, you know, a close personal friend. And now there's a new GM here replacing him. And then he gets asked to have a pay cut. So does he look at it just like, man, this new GM, you know, it's just tough, or I can't believe he wanted to do that? Or does he look at it like, I can't believe Vrabel wants to, you know, cut my pay? I don't know. But I think that when all this went down, we all knew Vrabel was going to have more power and more say. And so that has to be in the minds of the people now who play for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when Vrabel was in New England, at that point had Bill Belichick taken on the, you know, almighty role that he has now in terms of dealing with personnel? Because, you know, if that's
and by the way, the Belichick traded Vrabel away too.
Yes. So I'm wondering if that's something he could have picked up on while he was in New England. I don't know what the dynamics were like. That was 20 years ago. I don't know what the dynamics were like at that time. But I wonder if Mike Vrabel had a similar experience with Bill Belichick when he was in New England.
See, that's the interesting thing about New England is there's no question there, right? I mean, New England, it's very simple. I mean, Belichick is the head coach. Belichick is the GM, and that's it. But he does, again, the difference between Belichick and other coaches like who have final say. So Doug from Franklin asked on the text line, who's the last head coach / GM in the NFL? How many have there been? Talk about their success. And like I said back to him, the only coach who's also a GM is the GM who runs the scouting meetings, like does all the duties, is Belichick that I know of.
That's in his official title, general manager, or is it just like it's like it's unspoken but clearly understood?
That's a good question.
I will look up.
Is there, like, on the official site, does it actually list him as coach / GM?
I'm going to look that up.
I mean, they haven't had an actual GM for a long time. But that's different than, you know, Vrabel's situation. That's different than, so the coaches that are pretty well documented in this league, like who have final say. You know, Reed, as Charles talked about, Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Pete Carroll. That was Sean Payton's arrangement in New Orleans. I know them for sure. I think there are more. I think Shanahan. And it's interesting too because, like, I look at the Niners and there's a lot of praise that has gone to John Lynch and of course Rand Carthon on that staff. They're personnel people, but I believe Kyle Shanahan has final say. I believe that's been reported, but that's obviously different than what we're talking about with Belichick. I think when it's like that clearly defined, then Belichick already is like Darth Vader, right? So
like, right.
I mean, how much joking around with his players has Belichick done in the last 20 years?
If you go to the front office page of the Patriots official website, it lists Robert Kraft as the chairman and CEO, Jonathan Kraft as the president, and Matt Groh as the director of player personnel. That's it.
All right, so that's number 2. Yeah, so that's number 2 to Belichick's GM. They just don't list him officially, but
yes.
But he does it. I mean, he does. That's been documented. That's been reported clearly. He does the duties of a GM, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, I would love to know. I would just love to know.
If things go poorly, by the way, things keep going poorly, something's going to change there.
Yeah.
Because, like, if they don't have a resurgence here, and more, it's like, wow, I guess you can be the coach and the GM, and you can be like the, you know, VP in charge of ticket sales if Tom Brady's your quarterback. But when he isn't, all of a sudden it doesn't look as good.
Right, like Rand Carthon is the general manager, but he could. I mean, I'm wondering if, you know, although he holds the title, you know, does Mike Vrabel, you know, for lack of a better term, bully his way into having more of a say, you know, just because of his personality, his tenure in the organization.
But see, I think that has to be defined from the start. And again, they've been asked the question 20 different ways. Like, if it's like, you can't have a situation where Rand Carthon comes in. If you're a GM candidate, you have to ask the question, right? You have to. He's not going to come in, think one thing is happening, and all of a sudden Vrabel's like, "Yeah, watch out, Ren." I think it's got to be defined, and it's defined and also very clearly discussed. And by the way, we'll never tell these idiots who keep asking us questions what the actual situation is.
But like in a situation where if a deal presents itself to Ran Carthon, who wants to make the deal, and he has a conversation with Mike Vrabel, who is lukewarm.
And by the way, there's no way John Robinson just made any deal,
right?
And didn't, and Vrabel found out about it on the wire,
right?
But
if he presents it to Mike Vrabel and Mike Vrabel is lukewarm on it, does Ran Carthon say, "I think this is best for our team, I'm going to do it," or does he say, "Well, if our coach isn't, if Vrabel isn't into it, then I'm not going to do it"?
That's a great question. We will hit that on the other side. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase and Michelle, and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for our huge Memorial Weekend trade-in and savings event. This Memorial holiday, bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% bonus trade-in towards the purchase of any new clubs, including all the top brands. Save big on apparel. The more you spend, the more you save. All these great deals and more happening this Memorial Day weekend at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
This is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For most of us, sex is a big part of our relationship. So when something like erectile dysfunction starts affecting intimacy, it can be a real problem. But what you may not know is that ED doesn't just affect you, it can be tough on your partner as well. Plus, if you have ED, you know how it can make you feel. The truth is, we see a lot of guys who have depression, frustration, and even relationship issues because of ED. But we don't want ED to impact you or the one you love anymore. The Tennessee Men's Clinic tackles ED. Our urologists and medical providers take a comprehensive approach and have treated thousands of men with treatments that are successful in nearly 90% of cases. Even if your hormones are off, or if pills, wave therapy, or other treatments have left you hanging, the Tennessee Men's Clinic will work hard to help you get your sex life back, perhaps performing like you haven't in a long time. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices in Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Final segment, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106 for The Game. Here in the Game studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Lots of activity on the Game. Phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Doug comes back on the question. He said, "Thanks, Joe. More success than I thought." And the question of coaches who are also GM. He says, Mike Holmgren was the first I remember consolidating power when he went to Seattle. I did a quick search. Green Bay coaches of the distance last held both titles. May have been the norm in the early NFL, then it got specialized. So, yes, absolutely. I mean, the idea of even, like the GM, I mean, I think you're talking about kind of a 70s probably sort of when you started to really clearly have these defined GM roles. I would say I could be off on that, but that's what I think for the most part. You started to really see that in the 70s. I mean, look, Floyd Reese, we were just talking about Floyd Reese with Chase McCabe in the break because he was talking about how when Floyd was in New England, he would do a lot of the GM duties when he worked for the Patriots. He would do contracts, right? He would do that for Belichick. So it's not like Belichick did he had a lot of people, and I think Scott Pioli, as Chase just said, was the last actual GM who was the GM in New England, and then Bill basically became that, and then people were under him and listened to him and did what he told him to do. But, I mean, Floyd Reese one time, he was coming in the Tennessean offices to do a podcast on, like, the Titans' great teams under McNair. He's doing a podcast with Mike Organ, our former coworker, the Tennessean. And he was telling me one time, like, about in these – I've probably said this on the show before. His off-season's going way back, like – the scouting they would go look at the Street and Smith's like All-American magazine, and like those would be the players that they would be. I mean, it used to be so basic and elementary, and now of course it is analyzing every single cell in a person's body as you're trying to evaluate players.
Hand size, arm size.
Oh yeah, everything.
Yeah, the obsession with those
S2
things
cognition.
is just. I don't want to hear anything about the S2 ever again.
Oh, too bad, man. Too bad. This is an S2 show. By the way, this is also a show we haven't had many. Do you have a Simpsons reference? I mean, because you haven't had a lot this week.
I told Chase I would try to shoehorn one in the final segment. It has to come naturally. I can't just do it.
Now I put you on the spot. It's so much harder to do it when you've been put on the spot. All right, what was your question when we went to break?
I was talking about
what happened,
the power dynamic. If Rand Carthon has a deal on the
Vrabel's
table,
like, not sure,
right?
Yeah.
But if Rand has a conviction to make this deal, does he still do it?
So this is one thing I've heard about happening, not necessarily even like this, but in situations between coach and GM, sometimes it's like, okay, you get this one, and I think that's a smart way to do it. Like if you actually have a collaboration, then to me, the other person, both people, if it's a two-person collaboration of these huge, high-impact decisions, to me, both should at times get final say. Mm-hmm. I don't think that always happens. Sometimes it's just as simple as, okay, the coach has final say, and that's that. But, yeah, like you should, as a GM, you should be able to talk, let's say if you're in that situation. Mickey Loomis was in New Orleans. Sean Payton, final say. Did Mickey Loomis not get any chance at any point whenever Peyton took over final say to kind of say, hey, Sean, I really feel strongly about this one. All right, cool. Like if there's no opportunity to make a decision like that, I think that's bad for a collaboration. So I don't know the answer to your question, but to me that's you got it. I mean, it's such an overused term, especially here lately, and it's a cliche, but it really is. That's what, to me, collaboration is sometimes. Is like, you know what? I disagree with you, but go ahead. If you feel that strongly about it, I trust you enough that you get the call on this one. And to me, that's going to help both sides do their job better if they feel empowered, right?
Yeah, and if Rand Carthon wants to, sweet talk Mike Vrabel a little bit to get him on his side, he can always just say it takes two to lie. It takes two to lie, one to lie and one to listen. There's your Simpsons reference.
Okay, I was gonna say, is this a Simpsons line?
Yes.
Where I don't remember this one. What was this from?
It's from the episode with where Homer, Colonel Homer, where he manages the country singer Lurleen Lumpkin, and Marge thinks he's having an affair with her, and at one point he says it takes two to lie, one to lie.
Lurleen Lumpkin.
It takes two to lie.
What a name.
It takes
Leen
two to lie,
Lumpkin.
one to lie, and one to listen.
I do now remember the Lurleen. Wow, that's amazing. You are a treasure trove of Simpsons information. Raymond says, all those guys have Super Bowl rings. Vrabel has never earned it. He took over a playoff team, and it is eroding now.
Eroding, gone. There's another Simpsons
Oh my
reference.
gosh! Now we're just gonna add.
I got two in that segment.
Why did Chase have to bring this up?
I got two.
Why did Chase have to bring this up?
Chase just texted me. Yes.
Meanwhile, Will from Nashville says, "Wow, the regression of the program throughout the week. When are we going to get back to the legitimacy of Preds fans caring about the Admirals championship run?" Yes, we finally got back to the Milwaukee Admirals.
Another thing we have to shoehorn into every conversation is a conversation about the Milwaukee Admirals.
But I want to go back to Raymond in the time we have remaining today. It says, Vrabel has never earned it. He took over a playoff team, and it is eroding now. That is, I got to say, I don't want to have to bring out the call letters WHMR, but Raymond, you can't be serious. I mean, Vrabel took over. Yes, he did take over a team that made the playoffs and won one game. I mean, I don't see how you could look at Mike Vrabel's tenure as coach and not think that he has advanced things. I mean, he didn't take over a team that played in the AFC title game. He coached a team to the AFC title game. He didn't take over a team that was the number one seed in the NFL, despite the most injuries in the NFL. He coached that, right? I mean, I'm not arguing with you that it's quote-unquote eroding now, but do you think maybe the A.J. Brown trade has something to do with that? Do you think that some of these now we can say terrible draft picks had something to do with it? John Robinson had a really bad run at the end of his tenure. Whether he deserved to be fired or not, he had a bad run, and we're seeing the results now. Again, I think Mike Vrabel had say in a lot of those decisions. We know one that we can say with confidence he did not like, and it's, to me, the most disastrous one of all. But the erosion is the roster. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
So
I feel like the conversations between the Predators and the Titans are parallel in this situation when it comes to, is the Predator situation because of the moves David Poile made or the coaching job that John Hines did? It's sort of the same thing. Is the erosion of the Titans, the coaching job that Mike Vrabel did or the roster that John Robinson gave him? It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of parallels. And now this year it's kind of like, you going to be mid? You're going to be kind of mid, right?
Did you know?
People are excited
did
about
you
being
use
mid.
the word mid a lot before this week? Because I feel like I've used it more than I usually do, and now you're using it.
I do have kids who use the term mid, so
hate it.
Is dog water Is dog water gone? Is that no longer cool?
No, we still every once in a while we'll talk dog water. We got the scale of badness on the show is trash, then dog water, then cheeks. Cheeks is absolute worst.
Cheeks is the worst.
That's the bottom. Yes, exactly. Will says, exactly, Joey just nailed it. That's how business works. I've led groups many times. May slightly disagree, but if they feel strongly, you defer. That's why I hired them, for their judgment. People make way too big of a deal of the dynamic of, quote, who makes the final call. That's rarely needed because consensus is usually met. And that's how it should be. Sometimes, though, you have to just make the call yourself. I think Vrabel is the guy who does it. But, yeah, if he's always just like, no, it's my way or the highway, I think you're going to be worse off as an organization for it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And with that, it's time to say goodbye for the day. Thanks, everybody, for listening and participating. Chase and Michelle come up next on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
For the win! Yes! Vanderbilt wins it!
All the big stories.
Quarterback carousel. What the Titans decide to do at the quarterback position.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3